I face-planted on my keyboard, dying mid-code like the ultimate corporate warrior. 1 second I'm debugging, next second my heart goes, nah bro, I'm out. Classic death by overtime. My last contribution to the company? A string of gibberish from my face hitting the keys. Beautiful. Then everything went dark. Like, pitch black, warm soup kind of dark. I'm floating around thinking, okay, so this is death? No pearly gates? No dramatic life review? 0 stars. Would not recommend. But then some invisible hand grabs my soul and yeets me through what I can only describe as a cosmic washing machine. Spinning, lights, noise, and suddenly I'm being squeezed through a very tight space, and, wah, that was me. Crying. Like a baby. Because I was a baby. My brain is screaming, what the hell, but my mouth can only go, goo goo gaga. 20-something years of vocabulary, completely useless. I've read like 1,000 reincarnation novels, and now I'm literally living one. Except where's my cheat code? Where's my golden finger? Where's the tutorial pop-up? I want to speak to the manager of reincarnation. And it gets worse. I'm not reborn into some rich family with servants. Nope. I'm lying on moss. Outside. In the wild. As a newborn. This isn't even hard mode. This is the developers hate you mode. I'm about to accept my speedrun from birth to death when I hear rustling. Something's coming through the bushes. I squint my useless baby eyes and see. A little girl? Maybe 7 or 8. Silver hair flowing like liquid moonlight, red eyes like rubies, adorable face, and, hold on, are those horns on her head? And is that a tail covered in silver scales wagging behind her? Cool. Fantasy world confirmed. I've ice-guyed into a whole different genre. This tiny dragon lowly leans in super close, sniffs me like I'm a freshly baked croissant, and her eyes light up. Smells yummy. Tasty. I literally just respawned, and I'm already on someone's menu? Death by adorable dragon child was not on my bingo card. I'm flailing my noodle arms in pure panic, but she doesn't eat me. Instead, she scoops me up with surprisingly gentle hands and announces, mine now, so I've been claimed. Like lost luggage. Wonderful. She zooms through the forest at ridiculous speed, and next thing I know I'm lying on animal furs inside a giant cave. She's squatting in front of me, chin in hands, tail wagging like a happy puppy, just staring at me. Then she says, hungry, and my blood runs cold. Here it comes, but no. She runs to a pile of glowing crystals, grabs the prettiest blue one, and shoves it at my mouth. Like, lady, I'm a baby, not a rock-eating goblin. I clamp my mouth shut and turn away. She tries again. I refuse. She looks genuinely confused, like, why won't this thing eat perfectly good magic rocks? Then she has a new idea. A little flame pops up on her fingertip. Cute, right? Wrong. She starts bringing that fire straight toward my face with this proud expression like she just invented cooking. That's not heating food. That's cremation. I'm not a marshmallow. I unleash the most powerful scream my tiny lungs have ever produced. She jumps, the flame goes out, and she just stands there looking lost, mumbling, but mama said shiny things and fire are good. Your mama didn't teach you how to raise humans, did she? After watching me cry for what felt like forever, she suddenly gets a light bulb moment, yells, wait, and vanishes in a blur. She comes back carrying a giant leaf rolled into a cup, filled with warm milk. Probably from some magical beast she casually milked in the forest. It smelled a little funky, but honestly, I would have drunk motor oil at that point. I gulped it down like it was 5-star dining. She watched me eat with the most radiant smile I'd ever seen, pure sunshine with horns. As I drifted off to sleep on my fur bed, belly full, I had one last thought. Okay, I'm alive. My new mom is a tiny dragon girl with 0 childcare skills who tried to feed me rocks and set me on fire within the first hour. But she's fast, she's strong, and she did figure out the milk thing eventually. Could be worse. Probably. Maybe. Right? I woke up to the most humiliating alarm clock known to man, my own bladder about to explode. Look, nobody warns you about this part of reincarnation. You've got a fully grown adult brain screaming, find a bathroom, while your baby body has 0, and I mean 0, ability to do anything about it. I'm flailing around like a fish on land, face turning red, making desperate noises that roughly translate to toilet. Now, code red. Ayla just leans in and pokes my cheek. Again, like I'm some kind of stress ball. Stop poking and start helping. I'm about to become a fountain. By some miracle, maybe dragons can sense bladder pressure? She finally gets it. She grabs me, rushes to the cave entrance, holds me out like a ticking bomb, and goes, shoo, and there it went. My dignity, right off the edge of that cliff along with everything else. I, a formerly grown man, just got held over a ledge to pee by a 7-year-old dragon girl. If my coworkers could see me now. Actually, no, I'd rather die again. After that traumatic event, hunger hit. But credit where it's due. Ayla had leveled up her caretaking skills. She'd set up a stone bowl with fresh beast milk and made a little leaf funnel to feed me. Clumsy? Absolutely. But she's learning. My little dragon mom went from, eat this rock, to actual food delivery in like 2 days. That's faster than most startups pivot. Then came bath time. She scoops up cave water and tries to smear it on my face with all the gentleness of someone scrubbing a dirty pot. I dodge. She tries again. I dodge again. She says, dirty, in this annoyed little voice. I know I'm dirty, but could you maybe not wash me like you're pressure washing a driveway? Then her eyes flash silver, and suddenly I'm floating. Telekinesis. She's using actual psychic dragon powers to levitate me toward the water because I wouldn't cooperate. This creature has universe-breaking abilities, and she's using them. For bath time, I stopped struggling immediately. One wrong thought from her, and I'm a baby submarine. Over the next few days, I went full linguistics nerd. Every sound Ayla made, I cataloged it. She holds up a red crystal and says, Sharika. Okay, maybe that means red or pretty. She rolls a white stone toward me and says, Sola. Round? Play? My baby brain kept glitching out mid-analysis, but survival is one hell of a motivator. Oh, and I confirmed beyond all doubt that Ayla is absolutely, terrifyingly powerful. One day some giant bird monster tried to raid our cave. She picked up a rock and threw it. The bird didn't just die. It became a cloud of red mist. Then she happily ran out and barbecued the remains for dinner. Note to self, never, ever, ever make this child angry. Then came the moment. She'd found some sweet berries, mashed them up, and was feeding me. I was happily munching away. Life was almost peaceful when she leaned in close, eyes sparkling with expectation, and said very clearly, Say mama. I froze mid-chew. The internal debate that followed was legendary. On one side, my pride, my dignity as a former adult man, the sheer psychological impossibility of calling someone who looks like a first grader, mommy. On the other side, that bird that became mist. She leaned closer, nose almost touching mine, repeated with more intensity, Mama. Her breath smelled like warm sunstone. Her eyes said, This is not optional. Fine. Fine. You know what? Even the great General Han Xin crawled between a bully's legs to survive. This is just strategic compromise. A tactical retreat. Totally not because I'm scared. I took a deep breath, rallied every muscle in my useless baby mouth, and squeezed out, Ma. She went nuclear with happiness. She scooped me up and started spinning around the cave like a helicopter, silver hair flying everywhere, tail going absolutely wild, screaming, Mama. He said Mama, over and over. I'm getting motion sick while my last shred of dignity dissolves into the atmosphere. Somewhere in the afterlife, my former self is weeping. But, and I hate admitting this, her joy was so pure, so ridiculously genuine, that something inside me cracked just a tiny bit. She was so happy just because I responded to her. She piled all her precious glowing crystals around me like a dragon offering tribute to a baby. I sighed internally and surrendered to my fate. Fine. Mama it is. She feeds me, cleans me, protects me, and can vaporize monsters with a pebble. Worst mom in terms of technique, best mom in terms of firepower. I'll take those odds. And that's how I, a 20-something dead programmer, officially became the adopted baby son of a tiny dragon girl in a cave. What I didn't know then was that this embarrassing little mama, I squeaked out, someday it would become the beginning of a title that would shake the entire continent and echo across the stars. But for now, it was just me, lying in a pile of glowing rocks, burping berry juice, calling a child, Mom. Rock bottom has a basement, and I found it. I woke up to the smell of blood. Not coffee, not breakfast. Blood. My eyes crack open, and there's Ayla, dragging a wolf the size of a minivan into our cave like it's a grocery bag. This thing has frost crystals on its fur, a throat ripped clean open, and a blood trail painting modern art across the floor. She dumps it in the middle of the cave with a meaty thud and runs over to me, poking my face with fingers that are still literally bloody. Baby, yummy food, that's an elite tier monster. With ice powers. And she dragged it home like a cat bringing a dead bird to impress its owner. Except the bird is the size of a truck. Cool. Great. My mom is an apex predator. But can she cook? Spoiler, no. No, she cannot. She stares at the wolf corpse, tilts her head, and then gets that look. I just had an idea. Look that I've learned to absolutely dread. A little flame pops up on her fingertip. Okay, fire plus meat. That's actually logical progress. She walks toward the wolf and tries to light its FUR. Inside the cave full of dry animal skins and grass. The cave where I, a flammable baby, currently live. This isn't cooking. This is arson. We live here. I scream. Full volume. Maximum baby siren mode. She pauses, looks at me confused, and apparently decides I'm just hungry and impatient because her solution is to speed things up. She opens her mouth, and I see white-hot energy building in her throat. Dragon breath. She's about to use dragon breath. On a dead wolf. Inside our home. 3 feet from my face. My cry literally chokes in my throat. I think my soul left my body for a second. This isn't a barbecue anymore. This is a tactical airstrike on our own base. By some divine intervention, maybe my face hit peak terror. She stopped. Closed her mouth. The death energy faded. She blinked at me all innocent. Can't. Burn. I shook my head so hard I nearly snapped my own baby neck. I waved my arms. I made every possible, absolutely not, signal a 3-week-old body can produce. Then I had to become a baby mime. I pointed at the wolf. Made an eating gesture. Pointed outside. Made a fire gesture. Pointed inside. Shook my head violently. Pointed outside again for emphasis. She watched this whole ridiculous charade's performance with genuine concentration, like I was presenting a thesis defense. Fire. Outside. Yes. Yes. 1,000 times yes. You beautiful, dangerous genius. She pouted. She clearly thought indoor cremation was more convenient. But she grabbed the massive wolf by one leg, and dragged it outside like it weighed nothing. This girl could deadlift a building, and she's annoyed about walking 10 extra steps. Then I waited. From inside the cave I could hear branches snapping, fire crackling, and Ayla making little frustrated grunts. The smell drifting in was, let's call it, ambitious. Part roasted meat, part house fire, part regret. She came back looking like a tiny chimney sweep. Soot on her face, singed hair tips, carrying a chunk of wolf meat that was black as charcoal on the outside and probably still mooing on the inside. Eat, she commanded, shoving a strip of this culinary war crime at my face. Lady, I am a newborn. My digestive system is running on version 0.1. I can barely handle milk, and you want me to eat burned raw wolf jerky? Gordon Ramsay would cry. I sealed my mouth shut, turned away. Hard no. She tried again. Yummy. It is not yummy. It is a charcoal briquette with a pulse. After several failed attempts, she got huffy. She bit into the burnt wolf meat herself, chomping aggressively, giving me the dragon equivalent of, fine, more for me than, energy. Crunching through charred meat and bone like it was potato chips. I watched her angry eat, and felt a complicated mix of emotions. My survival clearly depends on me somehow teaching this child basic cooking. She's a 5-star hunter with negative 3-star kitchen skills. I reached out and gently tugged her ash-covered clothes. Gave her my best. I'm not rejecting you. I just can't eat carbon. Look. Her anger melted. She set down the meat, sat beside me, rested her chin on her hands, and stared into space, genuinely trying to figure out this whole, raising a human baby, puzzle. And honestly, that's the one thing keeping me going. She's terrible at this. Absolutely awful. But she tries. She thinks about it. She doesn't give up. So lying there on my fur bed, staring at the cave's ceiling, I started mentally drafting a parenting curriculum. Except I'm the baby, and I'm teaching the parent. Lesson 1. Fire safety and why we don't commit arson at home. Lesson 2. Baby nutrition. Hint. Not rocks, not raw meat, not dragon fire. Lesson 3. The difference between cooked, and cremated. Lesson 4. This list is going to be very, very long. Other reincarnated heroes get swords and magic systems. I got a teaching job. I'm a reborn babysitter for a dragon who thinks indoor explosions are a cooking method. The only warm thought I had before passing out was this. She's unreliable, chaotic, and genuinely dangerous. But she's warm, she's strong, and she smells like sunlight and minerals. And somehow, that's enough to make me want to keep surviving. Barely. I woke up to something I never thought I'd experience in this cave. A good smell. I open my eyes, and there's Ayla, crouched at the cave entrance, using her little finger flames on meat that's actually sitting on a stone grill. Controlled fire. Designated cooking zone. Meat sizzling properly. Oil dripping. It smelled incredible. She learned. My baby charades worked. I felt like a proud teacher watching a student finally pass the exam. Except the student is a nuclear dragon and the exam was, please stop trying to burn our house down. But here's the thing about teaching a dragon kid one trick. She gets obsessed with it. Ayla discovered she likes cooking. Or more accurately, she likes fire. She now lights up the cave entrance approximately every 4 minutes. I'm awake. Fire. She's bored. Fire. I yawn. Clearly that means fire. The cave entrance has basically become a 24/7 campfire that never goes out. We're not living in a home anymore. We're living in a smokehouse. I'm one seasoning packet away from becoming beef jerky. And then she started experimenting. Dry leaves? Lit them up. Instant ash. She looked delighted. Some kind of hard nut shell? Set it on fire. It released black smoke and a smell that could qualify as biological warfare. She seemed fascinated. A rock? She tried to set a rock on fire. It didn't work obviously, but it threw sparks that nearly gave me a heart attack. I'm a baby. My heart is the size of a walnut. Stop trying to kill it. Every single time, I had to go full drama mode. She reaches for something flammable. I cry. She picks up a weird mineral near the fire. I scream and turn red and squeeze out actual tears. She once grabbed a colorful stone that probably had unknown chemicals in it, and I performed so hard I deserved an Oscar. She threw it away and ran over to pat me like I was a scared puppy. I'm exhausted. I'm playing the world's hardest parenting simulator, except I'm the baby, and my child has nuclear launch capabilities and the impulse control of a caffeinated squirrel. Speaking of squirrels, that's where part 2 of my nightmare kicked in. One afternoon, Ayla was doing her favorite hobby, spreading out all her shiny treasures on the fur blanket and admiring them one by one. She's got magic crystals in every color, glowing stones, the works. Her most prized one was this huge golden crystal with what looked like liquid gold swirling inside it. Sunlight hit it, and it basically became a lighthouse beacon, which attracted a visitor. I heard it first, a tiny scratching sound near the cave entrance. I looked over and saw this fat, greasy-furred creature, like a squirrel that hit the gym and joined a street gang. Beady eyes locked onto that golden crystal like a crackhead spotting a $20 bill. A thief. Right here. Casing our home while Ayla was distracted polishing a blue crystal. The moment she looked down, this little bandit launched. Gray lightning bolt, straight for the gold crystal, claws outstretched. I screamed. Not a hungry cry. Not a scared cry. A full-blown, intruder alert. DEFCON 1, shriek, finger pointing directly at the furry criminal. Ayla's head snapped up. She saw the thief's paw inches from her precious treasure. And then the cave became hell. Her eyes went vertical, like slits. The air turned solid. A pressure wave exploded out of her that made it feel like gravity tripled. I could barely breathe, and I wasn't even the target. That thief squirrel, frozen mid-leap, slammed flat by invisible force. Every hair on its body standing straight up, shaking so hard it was practically vibrating. Eyes bulging with pure, I have made a catastrophic life decision, terror. Ayla didn't breathe fire. Didn't touch it. She just stared at it. One look. That's all it took. The gaze of something at the absolute top of the food chain looking down at a bug that dared to exist wrong. After a few seconds of this silent execution, she went, humph, and released her pressure. That squirrel thing didn't run, it evacuated. Full scramble, legs going in 4 different directions at once, gone in a blur, probably still running to this day. Didn't look back. Couldn't look back. Its ancestors felt that. Ayla picked up her golden crystal, blew imaginary dust off it, hugged it to her chest, and then crawled over to me and nuzzled my face with her head. Baby, good, she said happily. She understood. My scream was a warning. I just earned bonus points with the dragon. I lay there on my fur bed, heart still pounding, watching her happily reorganize her treasure pile while humming off key. So let me recap my life. I'm a newborn baby. My full-time job is 1. Stopping my dragon mother from committing arson in our own home every 30 minutes. 2. Serving as the world's youngest security guard against forest thieves. 3. Doing all of this while unable to walk, talk, or control my own bladder. Other reincarnation heroes are out there unlocking ancient powers and building kingdoms. I'm here running fire safety drills and neighborhood watch from a fur blanket. But you know what? As the afternoon light filtered into the cave and Ayla hummed her tuneless song with her tail swaying, things felt almost peaceful. She's chaos incarnate, but she listens. She learns. She's getting better. Slowly. Very, very slowly. My mental curriculum for Dragon Mom School keeps growing. Lesson 1. Fire safety. Past, mostly. Lesson 2. Don't burn random objects. In progress. Lesson 3. Home security awareness. She has the skills, just needs the vigilance. Lesson 4 through 847. Everything else. I close my eyes and let sleep take me. Gotta rest up. Tomorrow she'll probably try to set the river on fire or adopt a bear or something equally insane. This is my life now. Baby bodyguard. Infant fire marshal. Toddler-free life coach to a dragon. Someone please send help. I was dying. Not in the dramatic anime way. In the actual, real, my body is shutting down way. Days of eating nothing but Ayla's charcoal mystery meat had left me running on empty. My stomach felt like it was eating itself. I couldn't cry, couldn't wiggle, couldn't even do my usual baby charades. I just lay there on the fur, staring at the ceiling like a phone at 1% battery, thinking, so this is how it ends? Survived the fire phase. Survived the thief episode. And now I starve to death in a dragon's man cave. What a garbage reincarnation package. I want a refund, Ayla noticed. She always hovers nearby, but today she actually looked worried instead of just curious. She poked my face, her go-to diagnostic tool, and found it cold and pale instead of the usual warm and annoyed. Hungry? She asked, and for the first time her voice wasn't playful. It was careful, almost scared. I couldn't even nod. I just looked at her with my best, yes I am literally dying eyes. She started pacing, back and forth across the cave like a tiny silver-haired executive facing a crisis she can't punch her way out of. She looked at her magic crystals, looked at me, looked at the crystals again. Even SHE knew glowing rocks weren't going to fix this. Then she crouched next to me and started listing options on her fingers. Meat. Won't eat. Shiny things. Won't eat. That was her entire menu. 2 items. Both rejected. She looked genuinely lost, and I would have laughed if I wasn't busy dying. Milk. I wanted to scream. Just regular milk. The thing every mammal baby in every universe drinks. But my mouth could barely twitch, let alone form words or do the sucking mime. Then something shifted in her eyes. She stood up with sudden determination, looked at me dead serious, and said, "Wait. Find. Yummy food," and she was gone. Vanished. Poof. Just a breeze where a dragon girl used to be. So there I was, alone in a cave, fading in and out of consciousness, watching sunlight crawl across the cave entrance in slow motion like the world's most boring screensaver. Minutes felt like hours. I started wondering if she understood what I needed, or if she was going to come back with a bigger rock, or a fancier rock, or a rock that's on fire. Of all the dragon moms in all the fantasy worlds, I thought as my vision went fuzzy, I got the one who thinks gems are a food group. Then, right as I was about to clock out permanently, a shadow blocked the cave entrance. Ayla, back, looking like she'd fought through a jungle, grass in her hair, a scratch on her cheek, slightly out of breath. But her eyes were blazing with triumph, and she was clutching this huge leaf container, carefully wrapped with vines, not a single drop spilled. She practically slid to my side, held it up like a trophy, and inside was milk. Beautiful, white, warm, slightly funky-smelling milk. I have never been so happy to see a bodily fluid in my entire life. Both lives. Drink, she commanded, but her eyes were nervous. Like she was terrified I'd refuse again. Refuse? Refuse? Lady, I would drink milk out of a shoe right now. Out of a dumpster. Out of a volcano. I latched onto that leaf edge and drank like my life depended on it, because it literally did. Warm, slightly sweet, slightly weird-tasting milk poured down my throat, and it was the greatest thing I'd ever consumed. Better than any five-star restaurant. Better than my mom's cooking back on Earth. Better than that vending machine coffee that got me through 100 overtime nights. I was making happy little humming sounds. Involuntarily. Like a tiny engine purring. Zero dignity remaining, maximum satisfaction achieved. Ayla watched me drink with the biggest, brightest smile I'd ever seen on her face. All the stress and panic just melted away. She was gently stroking my hair with a softness I didn't know she was capable of. Eating. Good, she whispered, and her voice cracked with relief. When I finally stopped, belly full, body warm, soul restored, I noticed something that hit me right in the feelings. Ayla licked a drop of milk off her own finger, made a face, and muttered, "Weird taste." She didn't even like it. She went out there, fought through. Who knows what? Came back scratched up and messy. Carried this milk the whole way while keeping it warm with her own body heat. For something she thought tasted gross. Just because she figured out I needed it. Something cracked inside my chest. Not my ribs this time. Something deeper. This wasn't office politics. This wasn't someone being nice because they wanted something. This was a little dragon girl who couldn't tell the difference between food and rocks, who'd known me for less than a week, running through a forest to find milk for a baby she'd randomly claimed as hers, and being happy that I drank it. I burped. A tiny milk burp. Smelled terrible. Felt amazing. She put the leftover milk aside. She'd brought plenty, bless her chaotic little heart, and settled next to me, positioning herself between me and the wall. Her tail draped over my blanket like a scaly security fence. She picked up a blue crystal, held it to the light, and started humming that same off-key, ancient melody she always hums. And lying there, warm and full for the first time in days, wrapped in dragon girl body heat and the smell of sunlight and minerals, listening to the worst lullaby in the universe. I had a thought that surprised even me. This mom might actually not be terrible. She's clueless, reckless, tried to feed me fire and rocks, has the cooking skills of a natural disaster, and she's technically younger looking than a second grader. But she didn't let me starve. She figured it out. She came back. That counts for something. That counts for a lot, actually. My first real meal in this new world wasn't fancy. It was weird beast milk from a leaf cup, served by a dirty dragon child in a cave. But it filled more than just my stomach. Somewhere under all my sarcasm and survival panic, a tiny warm spot appeared that I couldn't quite explain away. I closed my eyes, full and safe and almost content. Don't get used to it, I told myself. Tomorrow she'll probably try to feed me lava. But for now is okay. Being full is great. You know what's not great? Being a grown man trapped in a meat suit that can only communicate through screaming and drooling. The food crisis was solved, but the real problem was just getting started. I had a brain full of thoughts, opinions, warnings, and extremely valid complaints, and my only output options were WH, goo goo, and aggressive pointing. It's like being stuck in a meeting where you have all the answers, but your microphone is permanently muted and everyone thinks you're a houseplant. Ayla tries her best to guess what I want, but her accuracy rate is somewhere around 15%. She runs on vibes and instinct. Sometimes she nails it. Most times she hands me a cold rock when I wanted water. It's like playing charades with someone who's never seen a human before. Oh wait, that's exactly what it is. So I made a decision. I'm learning dragon language. No choice. It's that or die of miscommunication, which would be the lamest cause of death in reincarnation history. I became the world's most intense baby linguist. Every sound Ayla made, I was on it. Full focus. Maximum brain power. Which, in a baby's body, lasts about 6 minutes before a bird flies past the cave and my eyeballs go, oh shiny, against my will. Or sleep attacks me mid-lesson like a drunk uncle at a family dinner. My brain is running graduate-level analysis on infant hardware. It crashes constantly. But I didn't survive corporate hell for nothing. My greatest skill from my past life wasn't coding. It was enduring boring things for unreasonable amounts of time. And finding ways to make it funny. So I built a mental dictionary. The Lin Kai Dragon to English Pocket Guide, compiled one chaotic moment at a time. Ayla picks up a red crystal. Eyes sparkling with love. Sharika, got it. Sharika equals red, pretty, or I like this, filed under, compliments. Might be useful for survival flattery later. She rolls a white stone toward me, says, Sola. Sola equals round, play. Or here, entertain yourself with this rock, filed under. Toys I didn't ask for. She steps on a sharp rock, kicks it across the cave with a pouty face. Tar. Tar equals sharp, bad, annoying. I hate this. Filed under. Extremely useful. This one I'll be using a lot. And the MVP word. The one I heard 50 times a day. Nora. Every time her stomach growled or she thought mine did, she'd rub her belly and whine. Noria? Nora equals hungry. Want food. Feed me. I started mentally building sentences. I Nora. She Nora. We all Nora. Wait. I sound like a caveman. Am I? Am I becoming a caveman? Is Dragon School turning me into a primitive? Someone save my vocabulary. Meanwhile, Ayla was trying to learn MY language, which is hilarious because my language is currently just vowel sounds and spit bubbles. She'd point at me and repeat my random noises with intense concentration. Ya? Like she was decoding ancient scripture, except the scripture was baby drool. Are we both studying each other? Is this a cross-cultural exchange program? Because I'm learning advanced dragon linguistics, and she's getting a degree in baby nonsense. This is the most unbalanced student exchange in academic history. The learning wasn't always smooth. Sometimes I'd try to repeat a dragon word and absolutely butcher it, and Ayla would lose patience. She'd slap the ground, make this low growling noise, and I'd instantly shut up and switch to good baby mode. Okay. Class dismissed. Teacher's angry. I'll stop. Please don't vaporize the student, but mostly she was encouraging. When I got a sound approximately right, she'd light up and nuzzle my face with her head, or bring me her best crystal to touch. She was rewarding me with rocks, like I was a trained seal performing for shiny pebbles. My professional dignity died a long time ago, but still. Then came the breakthrough. One quiet evening, Ayla had just finished her barbecue dinner. She patted my belly to check if I was hungry, confirmed I was full, and then gazed out at the sunset and casually said, Nora, Tusa, Kino, and my brain exploded. I understood. The whole sentence. Hungry. Eat, baby. Tusa means eat. Nora Tusa Kino equals baby needs to eat when hungry. I just comprehended a complete dragon sentence. I, a 3-week-old infant, just decoded alien grammar through pure context clues and desperation. I got so excited I tried to respond in dragon. My mouth attempted, I'm not Nora, but what came out was, G-U-H. Iya. Nora. Ayla's eyes went supernova. She shoved her face right up to mine. Kino. Said. Nora. She thought I was telling her I was hungry. No, that's not what I was trying to say the opposite. You know what? Fine. Beautiful misunderstanding. At least it proves the system works. After that breakthrough, something clicked. I started thinking in dragon, not speaking it. My mouth was still useless, but thinking it. And naturally, I used this new skill for its highest purpose, silent dragon language roasting. Ayla lighting fires for fun again. My inner voice, Ayla, Sharika Tusa, Nora. Ayla, likes fire, not hungry. Translation, why are you playing with fire again? We literally just ate. Ayla shoving a freezing crystal into my blanket as a heater. Internal scream. Kino Nora Akya. Nora Sharika Tar. Baby wants water. Not cold annoying rock. Translation, this is not a blanket. It's a frozen brick. Ayla trying to share her charcoal meat with me? Firm mental rejection. Why? Tusatar, food bat. Translation, I would rather eat the dirt. This became my entire entertainment system. My secret inner world. On the outside, I'm a helpless, drooling baby. On the inside, I'm delivering a stand-up comedy special in broken dragon language to an audience of one. Myself. And I am killing it. Nobody knows. Ayla has no idea that every time she does something ridiculous, there's a full-color commentary track running in my head in her own language. I'm the world's first bilingual baby heckler. She's still the most unreliable, chaotic, dangerous mom in existence. But she's also my only window into this world. My teacher. My dictionary. My unwitting comedy material. So I set myself a goal. A stupid, petty, beautiful goal. Learn enough dragon language that when I can finally talk, my roast will be legendary. That's it. That's my motivation. Not power. Not revenge. Not saving the world. Just really, Really good bilingual trash talk. Apparently, this early dragon immersion was going to become the foundation for something called dragon language magic later on. But I didn't know that. Right now, I was just a sarcastic baby, mentally cursing in dragon, living my most pathetic and somehow funniest life. Today, I witnessed something truly terrifying. Not a monster attack, not a fire incident, something far worse. Ayla decided to redecorate. She woke up, ate breakfast, and instead of her usual routine of playing with fire or traumatizing me, she got this look in her eyes. The look of a dragon on a mission. An interior design mission. She started hauling her entire crystal collection from the corner to the center of the cave with the focus and reverence of a museum curator handling the crown jewels. Every single magic crystal got individually polished with moss. Moss. She was using forest sponges to detail her rock collection. This girl has zero life skills, but somehow invented the concept of luxury display presentation. Then came the sorting. Red crystals here, a little pile of angry lava nuggets. Blue crystals in a line, radiating cold like a freezer aisle nobody asked for. Yellowish-brown ones grouped together, ugly but apparently powerful. Then some metallic ores and a few rainbow shimmer scales from God knows what dead creature. She organized the whole thing like a gemstone department store. And she narrated the entire process in dragon language. Free lesson, I guess. Sharika. Nora, she's cradling a red crystal with actual magma swirling inside, looking at it like it's her firstborn child. That's me, by the way. I'm her firstborn. But sure, the rock gets more love. Akya. Tar. She shoves a blue crystal away with one disgusted fingertip because it's cold and she hates cold things. But she still keeps it in the display. Because it's shiny. Dragon logic. I hate you. But you sparkle, so you stay. Sola. Kino. She rolls a glowing white pearl toward me. My designated toy. Another rock. She keeps trying to buy my affection with geology samples, and I keep telling her I cannot eat these. But then she escalated. Apparently ground-level displays weren't enough. She wanted wall art. So she grabbed some small, colorful crystal shards and walked up to the solid rock wall of our cave and pushed her fingers into it. Like butter. She just sank her dainty little fingers into solid stone, scooped out a hole, and pressed a crystal into it like she was putting a thumbtack on a bulletin board. Her fingers are harder than rock. Let me say that again for the people in the back. This 7-year-old-looking child just used her bare hands as a drill. Mental note number 947. Never make this girl angry. She could poke a hole through my skull like it's wet clay. She went nuts with this. Crystals everywhere. Walls. Ceiling. The stalactites. She turned our survival cave into a disco ball. When sunlight hits the entrance now, the whole place explodes into 1,000 tiny rainbows bouncing off every surface. It's like living inside a kaleidoscope designed by someone whose only aesthetic reference is more shiny equals more good. Very dragon. Very extra. Very much giving me a headache. And then she came for my bed. She tried to stuff sharp, pointy crystals under my fur blanket. Her reasoning, delivered with total sincerity. Sharika, Kino, pretty, for baby. Pretty? Those have edges like knives. You want me to sleep on a bed of beautiful daggers? This isn't decoration, it's a booby trap. I'm a baby, not a fakir. I screamed. She reluctantly removed them, muttering, Kino, tar, baby, annoying. Like I'm the difficult one for not wanting to be impaled in my sleep. After the great renovation was complete, Ayla stood in the middle of the cave, hands on hips, tail wagging at maximum speed, surveying her masterpiece with the pride of an architect who just finished a skyscraper. The style? I'd call it Nouveau Riche Caveman meets Vegas Casino. It was aggressively sparkly. Blindingly so. If taste was a spectrum, this was somewhere between Dragon Hoarder Chic and a toddler raided a jewelry store. She ran over and gave me a full guided tour, pointing at each crystal cluster and explaining them in rapid dragon language I mostly couldn't follow. But her excitement was so intense, so genuine, that even my inner critic went a little quiet. Because here's the thing I realized. Lying there surrounded by enough gemstones to crash an economy. These aren't just pretty rocks to her. This cave is her kingdom, her safe place, her whole world. And every crystal she polishes, every wall she decorates, every treasure she arranges, it's her way of building a home, making it hers. And she put me right in the center of it. When she was done with the tour, she sat next to me and pulled out one last crystal. Small, round, pale green, perfectly smooth like a marble. It pulsed with this gentle, warm energy, nothing like the burning or freezing ones. Kino, Sola, she said softly. For baby. To play. I hesitated. But something about this one felt different. I reached out with my clumsy baby fingers and touched it. Cool. Smooth. And this faint hum of life, like holding a tiny green heartbeat. Huh. Actually, not bad. She saw me not immediately reject it and practically glowed with happiness. She pressed it into my hand. Yours, she said in dragon. Serious. Official. Like a deed transfer. So now I own property in this world. One green marble. Given to me by a dragon girl who thinks sharp crystals are bedroom furniture and wall drilling is casual exercise. I held my little green marble and looked around at this ridiculous, blinding, over-decorated cave, this dragon's version of a dream home, and at the tiny silver-haired girl sitting next to me, tail swaying, humming her off-key song, radiating pure contentment. Her taste is insane. Her methods are terrifying. Her idea of a gift is a rock. But she gave me the best one. And she meant it. This glittery nightmare of a cave is starting to feel a tiny bit like home. I'll never admit that out loud, though. Especially not in dragon language. She'd probably celebrate by bedazzling my face. Let me tell you about the day I almost died in a bathtub. Except it wasn't a bathtub. It was a puddle. In a cave. And my mother tried to boil me alive in it. It started, as all my near-death experiences do, with Ayla giving me the look. You know the one. Eyes locked on target. Mission activated. Today's mission, baby is dirty. Must clean baby. I had just finished peeing. With her help, because that's my life now, and before I could even process the shame, she was already in full cleaning mode, scooping up freezing cave water with her bare hands and lunging for my face. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That water is ice cold. It's basically early spring in a forest. That puddle is refrigerator temperature. You want to give a newborn a polar plunge? I dodged left. She tried again. I dodged right so hard I nearly rolled off my fur bed. She said, dirty, like it was a legal verdict. I know I'm dirty, but I'd rather be dirty and alive than clean and hypothermic. Desperate times call for desperate charades. I hugged my own tiny arms, shivering dramatically. Then I pointed at the old fire pit. Cold. Fire. Warm the water. Come on, connect the dots. She looked at me shivering, looked at the fire pit, and her face went completely blank. The dots did not connect. I tried dragon words. Nora, Tusa, fire, trying to say, need fire to heat water for bath. Her eyes lit up. She thought I was hungry for barbecue. She jumped up to go cook meat. No, that is not. How did you get barbecue from that? I grabbed the fur blanket and screamed until she came back. She stomped her foot. Kino, tar, baby. Annoying. I'm annoying. You're the one who can't distinguish, heat my bath water, from, grill me a steak. Then, just when I'd given up all hope of warm hygiene, something shifted behind those red eyes. She got competitive. Like my stubbornness personally offended her dragon pride. She marched to the water puddle, leaned down, opened her mouth, and breathed fire directly onto the water. A jet of orange flame hit the surface, and the cave instantly became a sauna. Steam everywhere. Hissing. Bubbling. She was using dragon breath as a water heater. Just casually turning a cave puddle into a hot tub with her mouth. This girl has a built-in kettle in her throat, and it took her this long to figure it out? I watched in horror and amazement as she carefully maintained this tiny flame, heating the water to, miraculously, a perfect temperature. She stopped. Tested it. Satisfied. Okay. Credit where it's due. The water was actually perfect. Warm. Comfortable. Maybe this bath wouldn't be so. She grabbed a wad of moss and started scrubbing me like I was a rusty pan. Ow, ow. That's not bathing. That's sanding. I'm a baby, not a piece of furniture you're refinishing. My skin is thinner than paper. Are you trying to clean me or remove an entire layer of me? I squirmed. She held tighter. I kicked. She pushed harder. She was not losing this battle. In her mind, dirt was the enemy and she was going to win, even if the baby had to suffer. And then it happened. She pushed too hard. I slipped. And suddenly my entire face was underwater. Glub glub glub, water up my nose. Water in my mouth. Warm water, sure, but water in my lungs doesn't care about temperature. I thrashed. I panicked. I couldn't breathe. My tiny limbs flailed uselessly against her iron grip. My whole life, both lives, flashed before my eyes. Survived overtime death. Survived reincarnation. Survived fire rocks. Survived attempted cremation. Survived starvation. And now I'm drowning in a bath. In a cave. This is the stupidest death in the history of Ice Guy. My gravestone will say, died. Bath time, and nobody will even feel sad. They'll just laugh. Then she yanked me out. I coughed. I sputtered. I wheezed. Snot and tears and water streaming down my red, furious, traumatized little face. I looked like a drowned rat having a mental breakdown. And Ayla just froze. For the first time since I'd known her, she looked genuinely scared. Not, oops, scared. Actually scared. Her red eyes went wide with something I'd never seen in them before, guilt. She stared at me shaking in her hands like she'd just realized she was holding something incredibly fragile, and she'd almost broken it. She didn't try to keep scrubbing. She didn't say, dirty. She just started patting my back, gently, clumsily, trying to help me breathe. Her hands were stiff and awkward, but the intention was so clear it almost made me stop being furious. Almost. After I stopped coughing and downgraded to quiet sobbing, she looked at my soaking wet, miserable, shivering body and hesitated. Then she did something that genuinely surprised me. She opened her mouth slightly and blew. Not fire. Not dragon breath. Just warm air. A gentle, perfectly temperature-controlled stream of warm wind that flowed over my wet skin and dried everything instantly. Water droplets vanished on contact. My skin went from soaked to dry in seconds. Even my hair fluffed up. She turned herself into a hairdryer. A dragon-powered blow-dryer. And it felt incredible. Warm but not hot. Gentle but thorough. Every inch of me went from soggy nightmare to cozy perfection. It was legitimately the most comfortable thing I'd experienced in this entire new life. Better than the fur bed. Better than warm milk. This was spa-level luxury delivered by a walking flamethrower who'd nearly drowned me 60 seconds ago. She dried every last bit of me, even the spaces between my tiny fingers, with the careful attention of someone who'd learned exactly one lesson today and was determined to get this part right. When she was done, she set me on the fur bed, sat down next to me, and let out this enormous exhausted sigh. Her tail drooped. She stared at the ceiling. She looked like a first-time parent who just survived their worst nightmare, which, honestly, she was. I lay there, dry, warm, clean, traumatized, looking at her sitting there, tail limp, replaying the near drowning in her head, clearly feeling terrible about it. I couldn't stay mad. I wanted to. I really wanted to. But she went from, oops, I submerged the baby, to inventing dragon blow-dry technology in under a minute. She adapted. She learned. In real time. While panicking. This bath was a war. An actual water and fire war between a clueless dragon and a helpless baby, and somehow we both survived it. Barely. The scoreboard for today, near drowning. 1. Successful cleaning. 1. Dragon blow-dryer invention. 1. My remaining dignity. 0. Bath time with Ayla. 0 stars. Would not recommend. Will absolutely have to do again tomorrow. I closed my eyes, warm and dry and exhausted, and decided that was a problem for future me. Present me needed a nap. A very, very long nap. I'm going to tell you about the day I invented cooking. Well, Ari invented it. For a dragon. See, ever since Ayla figured out food exists beyond magic rocks, she'd become obsessed with eating. Great news, right? Wrong. Because her entire culinary repertoire consisted of one move. Blast meat with fire until it becomes geology. Every single meal was charcoal, black on the outside, raw on the inside, tasting like someone cremated a tire and served it with regret. I'd been choking down these carbon bricks for days. My taste buds filed a class action lawsuit. Even the beast milk started tasting like smoke because everything in this cave tasted like smoke. So when she dragged home yet another kill, some fat badger-looking thing, and started setting up her kitchen with that sparkle in her eye, I knew I had to intervene. She was already humming, already gutting the animal with her bare fingernails like she was opening a letter, already jamming meat onto a stick with zero finesse, already doing her pre-fired deep breath. The throat glow started. Orange light building in her chest. Dragon barbecue protocol initiating. 10 seconds to charcoal. I had to stop her. But how do you teach temperature control to someone through baby screaming? There's no charade 4, medium rare. No infant gesture 4, low and slow. I don't even have teeth yet, and I'm trying to be a cooking instructor. She inhaled. The fire was coming. I screamed. The most aggressive, high-pitched, brain-piercing shriek I'd ever produced. She choked on her own dragon breath, literally swallowed fire, and started coughing. If I wasn't fighting for the future of cuisine, I would have felt bad. She turned to me, confused and slightly annoyed. Kino? Okay. I had her attention. Now for the hardest cooking class ever taught by a person who can't sit up. Attempt 1. I pointed at a flat stone, then at the fire, then mimed rubbing, then pointed at the meat. A complete sentence in baby sign language that clearly communicated, use indirect heat on a stone surface for even cooking. She stared at me like I'd recited quantum physics in Klingon. Zero comprehension. Absolute blank. Attempt 2. New strategy. Simpler. I pointed at the big roaring flames, then made an exaggerated pain face, scrunching up, flinching, hugging myself, shivering. Big fire equals bad. Then I pointed at the edge of the fire where it was gentle and small, and made a happy face. Smiled. Licked my lips. Small fire equals good. She tilted her head. Looked at the big flames. Looked at the small ones. Something was happening behind those red eyes. Gears turning. Dots connecting. She turned back to the meat, opened her mouth, and breathed out. A tiny flame. Just a whisper of fire. A birthday candle compared to her usual flamethrower. The meat started to sizzle. Gently. Quietly. No explosion. No instant carbonization. Just cooking. Yes. Yes. That's it. Small fire. Slow cook. You beautiful genius lizard. I couldn't contain myself. I laughed. An actual baby giggle. The first genuinely happy sound I'd made in this entire new life. Ayla's eyes went wide like I'd just handed her a diamond. My laugh was her reward, and she wanted more. She started adjusting the flame with incredible precision, tilting her head to change the angle, puffing shorter or longer bursts to control the heat distribution. She was treating it like a game, a puzzle, and she was winning. Then, the smell changed. Not smoke, not char, not things that should not burn are burning. Actual, roasted, meat. Aroma. Golden, rich, mouth-watering, drool-inducing roasted meat smell filled the cave for the first time in history. Oil dripped from the meat and sizzled in the fire with that perfect crackling sound. The surface turned golden brown, not black, while the inside stayed juicy. I could see the difference from my fur bed. Ayla's nose twitched. Her eyes went huge. She smelled it too. She knew this was different. When the meat was done, she ripped off a small piece and, for the first time ever, didn't eat it herself first. She blew on it to cool it down, then held it to my mouth with the most nervous expression I'd ever seen on her, like a contestant on a cooking show waiting for the judge's score. I opened my mouth. I bit. Crispy outside, tender inside. Pure meat juice exploding across my tongue. No seasoning, no salt, no nothing. Just perfectly cooked wild game. And it was the best thing I had ever eaten in 2 lifetimes. I almost cried. I might have actually cried. Happy tears. The kind of tears you shed when you've been eating burnt garbage for a week and someone finally hands you real food. My face must have looked like a food critic having a religious experience because Ayla absolutely lost it. Hugeno. Tusa. Sharika. Baby. Food. Good. She scooped me up and helicopter spun me around the cave again. This is her celebration move apparently. Every breakthrough equals spin the baby. My neck barely works, and she's putting me through centrifuge training. She put me down and grabbed a chunk for herself. 1 bite. Her eyes went dinner plate wide. Nora, yummy, yummy. She inhaled the rest of that roast like a vacuum cleaner with teeth. Meat, fat, bones, crunched and swallowed. Licked every finger individually. Twice. She looked like she'd discovered religion, and it was medium rare. From that day forward, everything changed. Ayla became a cooking enthusiast. She practiced fire control obsessively. She experimented with different cuts, different thicknesses, different distances from flame. She was developing her own technique through pure trial and error, driven entirely by the desire to recreate that perfect golden crust. My meals went from war crime on a stick to Actually pretty decent cave barbecue. Still no seasoning. Still no vegetables. Still just meat. But properly cooked meat. What a time to be alive. Watching her crouch by the fire, tongue poking out in concentration, carefully rotating a piece of meat to get even browning on all sides, then jumping up with joy when it came out perfect. I felt this weird, proud dad warmth in my chest. Me, a baby, feeling proud of my dragon mom's cooking progress. This timeline is absolutely unhinged. But we did it. We went from set food on fire and pray to actual cuisine. One small step for a dragon, one giant leap for my digestive system. After demolishing her meal, Ayla curled up next to me, belly full, and fell asleep in seconds. Little snores. Content face. Sauce still on her chin. I lay there, full for the first time without regretting it, burping up the most delicious burp of my new life, and thought about the future. Seasoning. Vegetables. Grains. Soups. This world probably has spices and herbs and ingredients I can't even imagine yet. And I've got a cooking partner who has a built-in adjustable stove in her throat and unlimited hunting ability. The possibilities are actually kind of exciting. Roasted meat is just the dawn of civilization. The menu of the future is going to be legendary. But that's tomorrow's project. Tonight, I fell asleep next to a snoring dragon girl who finally learned not to burn food, dreaming of flavors I hadn't tasted yet. Progress. Beautiful, delicious, medium-rare progress. Ayla has entered her, say mama, arc, and she is not giving up. It started subtle. After meals, she'd sit cross-legged in front of me, tail tapping the ground like a metronome of impatience, those red eyes drilling into my soul. She'd point at herself, slow and clear. Mama, nothing from me. She'd lean closer, nose to nose. I could count her eyelashes. Mama. I'd look away and mumble some gibberish. She'd huff, rinse and repeat. Then she started bringing visual aids. She'd point at a deer walking past with its baby. See? Mama. Then she'd whip back to me with eyes like spotlights. Your turn. Say it. Look, I know what she wants. My brain understands the strategic value. If I'm her baby, instead of just her thing, I get better care, more protection, higher status in the dragon hierarchy. It's a no-brainer survival move. But my pride, my stupid, useless, completely impractical adult male pride. I was a college-educated professional. I had a 401k. I attended meetings. And now I'm supposed to call a girl who looks like she belongs in second grade, mommy? That's not just embarrassing. That's a full identity reset. A spiritual factory wipe. My entire past life summed up and deleted in 2 syllables. So I kept dodging. I tried calling her by name instead. Kino. Ayla. She shook her head instantly. No. Mama. Non-negotiable. This dragon does not accept substitutes. Then she escalated to psychological warfare. I refused to say it. She confiscated my green marble. My marble. The one she officially gave me. Repossessed like a repo man taking back a car. Cold-blooded. Still won't say it. She ate the best piece of roast meat right in front of me, making the most obnoxious chewing sounds possible. Chomping and smacking like a food ASMR video designed to torture me specifically. But the worst, the absolute worst, was the silent treatment. One time I threw a little tantrum about the whole mama thing, and she just walked to the cave entrance, sat down, back turned, hugged her knees, tail flat on the ground, didn't move, didn't speak, and the silence crushed me. I lay there staring at her small back and suddenly realized something terrifying. I need her, not just for food and protection. I need her here. This cave without her energy, her humming, her ridiculous fire experiments. It's just a cold hole in a rock. She is the home. Without her, I'm just a baby lying in the dark waiting to die. When did that happen? When did I go from dangerous captor to please don't be sad? I didn't call her mama that day, but I stopped fighting as hard. Then came the day she pulled out the big guns. She hunted some small white-furred creature whose meat was apparently god tier. The smell alone almost made me pass out with desire. Golden crust, juicy interior, the most incredible aroma this cave had ever produced. She tore off the most perfect, most tender, most beautiful piece of meat I'd ever seen, blew on it to cool it down, and held it right under my nose. I was drooling. Literally. Baby drool running down my chin. No shame left. Just want. Then she looked me dead in the eyes and said, crystal clear, say mama, then eat. She was holding heaven hostage. The internal war was catastrophic. Dignity versus hunger. Pride versus survival. The last fortress of my adult male ego versus the most delicious-smelling piece of meat in two universes. I thought about my past life. All those times I smiled at terrible clients, laughed at my boss's awful jokes, said, "Yes, sir," when I meant, "Go to hell." I prostituted my dignity for a paycheck. And now I can't say two syllables for survival? Screw it. Screw it all. I closed my eyes, took a breath, gathered every last drop of my willpower, opened my baby mouth, and from the deepest depths of my shattered pride, Ma. Silence. I kept my eyes shut. My face was on fire. I could feel my dignity's funeral procession marching through my brain. 21 gun salute. Casket lowered. Goodbye, manhood. You served me well. Then, nothing happened. No meat in my mouth. No laughing. Just silence and the feeling of her getting closer. I cracked one eye open, and what I saw broke something inside me. Ayla wasn't laughing. She wasn't reaching for the meat. She was just staring at me with the biggest, most purely joyful expression I'd ever seen on any face, in any world, in any lifetime. Her eyes were literally glowing, not with dragon power, with happiness. Raw, undiluted, absolute happiness, like the sun exploding out of her face. She threw the meat, just tossed it. The precious, perfect, used as blackmail meat, flung aside like garbage. It didn't matter anymore. Nothing mattered except what I'd just said. She reached out and cupped my face in both hands. Gently, like I was made of glass. Like I was the most valuable thing in her entire crystal collection. Say it again, her voice was shaking. Something in my chest did a weird thing. The shame backed off. I don't know why. Maybe because nobody had ever looked at me like that. Not in this life. Not in the last one. Mama. She detonated. Scooped me up. Crushed me against her chest. Started spinning. Of course spinning. It's always spinning. Around the cave, screaming, "My baby. My baby." With her hair flying and tail going berserk and tears of joy she probably didn't even notice streaming down her face. She spun until she was dizzy. Then she stopped, but didn't let go. She buried her face in my neck, giggling, sniffing me, vibrating with joy like a tiny silver earthquake. Her heart was hammering so hard I could feel it through my whole body. And I just let it happen. I didn't squirm. I didn't internally complain. I just sat there in the arms of a dragon girl who was the happiest creature in the world because a baby said, "Mama," and I thought, fine, I'll be your kid. You're basically raising me anyway. You feed me, clean me, almost drown me, protect me from thieves, heat my bath with your throat, and go running through forests to find milk you don't even like. If that's not a mom, what is? I'll just think of it as having a really powerful daughter who insists on being called mom. Yeah, that works. The family tree is a pretzel, but whatever. She eventually calmed down, picked up the dropped meat, blew the dirt off it, and fed it to me with the most tender, loving expression imaginable. The meat was incredible, but honestly, it could have been cardboard, and I wouldn't have cared. Something had shifted. The cave felt warmer. The crystals sparkled softer. Her humming sounded less off-key. But as she sat beside me, petting my hair on loop, radiating contentment, a quiet thought crept in. Her reaction was, a lot. Like, a lot. Way more than just, cool. The baby learned a word. She reacted like someone who'd been waiting for this her whole life. Like something she desperately needed had finally been confirmed. Why? Why does being called Mama mean that much to her? Is it just dragon possessiveness? Or is there something else? Something about her past, her story, something she can't tell me and I can't yet understand? And while I'm asking questions, why was I reborn here? In a forest? Found by her specifically? Is that random? Or is there something bigger going on? I chewed my perfect roast meat and looked at Ayla's smiling face, the happiest I'd ever seen it, and for the first time, felt a tiny prickle of something beyond survival instinct. Curiosity, and just a touch of unease. What exactly are you, Ayla? And what am I to you, really? But those were questions for a brain that could stay awake longer than 40 minutes. For now, I had a full belly, a warm cave, and a dragon mom who loved me more than her shiny rocks. That was enough. For now, ever since I called her Mama, Ayla has become a stage 5 clinger. She has to be touching me, looking at me, or within tail reach of me at all times. If I'm eating, she's watching. If I'm sleeping, she's watching. If I'm just existing, she's watching. I went from pet to precious treasure that must be monitored every nanosecond, overnight. The mama thing unlocked something in her brain, and there's no putting it back. But nothing, prepared me for bedtime. Usually she'd play with her rocks until she passed out. Standard dragon evening routine. But tonight, moonlight flooding the cave, crystals twinkling, and Ayla is lying on her side next to me, propped up on one hand, those red eyes glowing in the dark, just staring at me. Baby, sleep, she says in this stiff, trying to sound motherly voice, like she'd been rehearsing the line. I closed my eyes. Played dead. Surely she'd get bored, and nope. Still staring. I could feel the laser beams of her eyeballs on my face. I cracked one eye open. She hadn't moved a millimeter. Just hovering there like a surveillance drone with silver hair. Listen, I've had bosses breathe down my neck during crunch time, but being watched in the dark by a pair of glowing red dragon eyes while you're trying to sleep? That's a different kind of horror. That's sleep paralysis demon, but she loves you. I gave up pretending and opened my eyes. She looked pleased. Like, oh good, you're awake. Now we can hang out. Then she did something unexpected. She started talking about herself. Mama. Before, her dragon words came out broken, simple, a child trying to describe something too big for her vocabulary. Big. Nest. Shiny things. Many. Dragons. My sleepiness evaporated instantly. This was the first time she'd ever mentioned her past. I locked in. Full attention. Every brain cell activated. Fly. High. Clouds. Above, she lifted her little hand and traced a path through the air, mimicking flight. Stars. Close. A massive dragon settlement above the clouds, near the stars. Some kind of sky fortress? Dragon City? My imagination was running wild. Then her voice dropped. Then, fighting. Loud. Shiny things. Stolen. War. Among the dragons. Over treasure, territory, power. Something tore her world apart. Pain. She touched a spot on her arm. Smooth, unmarked skin. But her face flinched like the wound was still there, just invisible now. Mama. My mama. Gone. My chest tightened. Her mother. Lost in the conflict. Gone. I ran. Small. Hid. She curled up slightly, her body remembering what her words couldn't fully express. Found. Here. Quiet. And that was it. She stopped. She didn't have the words for more, or maybe she didn't want them. I lay there in the moonlight, completely rewiring everything I thought I knew about her. She wasn't just some random dragon playing house with a human baby. She was a refugee, a child who lost her mother, lost her home, fled alone into a forest, and survived by herself until she found me. A screaming, helpless, completely useless baby that she claimed as hers because she needed someone to be hers. That's why Mama hit her so hard. It wasn't just a word. It was a replacement, a repair, a terrified little dragon who lost her own mom, building a new family out of the only material available, one soggy human infant. I felt something shift in my chest. Not just survival math anymore. Something heavier. Something that felt uncomfortably like responsibility. Then she poked my cheek, mood already bouncing back, and asked, baby. Story. She wanted me to tell her a bedtime story. Me. The guy whose entire communication toolkit is 10 dragon words and aggressive mime. But those expectant eyes. After what she just shared, I couldn't say no. My heart wouldn't let me. And then genius struck. I have an entire life's worth of stories in my head. Novels, myths, legends, thousands of hours of web fiction consumed during lonely, overtime nights. My brain is basically a Netflix library, and my audience is a dragon child who's never heard any of them. I chose the nuclear option, Journey to the West. The Monkey King. Obviously dumbed down to the point where the original author would cry, but still. Long ago, there was. Monkey. I pointed at the cave entrance like a monkey was standing there. Strong. Came from. Stone. I made a bursting out gesture. Ayla's eyes went wide. Born from stone. She was hooked. He had. Stick. I mimed something long, growing bigger, growing smaller. Shiny. Gets big. Gets small. The moment I said, shiny, and changes size, this girl stopped breathing. Her tail shot straight up. Her pupils dilated. A shape-shifting shiny stick? I had just described her dream weapon. Her ultimate fantasy object. I could practically see her brain short-circuiting with desire. I kept going. The Monkey King wrecking heaven, fighting powerful gods, getting trapped under a mountain. Ayla clenched her fists in worry. Breaking free, protecting a monk, smashing bad guys. She was bouncing with excitement, lightly stomping her feet. Every time I mentioned the magic staff doing something cool, she'd whisper reverently, "Stick. Sharika, stick." 1. I acted out fight scenes with baby sound effects. Boom, boom, boom. Swoosh. POW. I was basically performing a one-man show using a vocabulary of 30 words and unlimited enthusiasm. My body was a baby, but my spirit was a Broadway actor giving the performance of a lifetime to an audience of one extremely invested dragon. By the time I finished, I was more exhausted than any overtime shift in my entire previous life. Storytelling with 10 words and mime is apparently the most energy-intensive activity known to man. Ayla sat there in stunned silence, staring at the ceiling, replaying the whole epic in her head. The moonlight caught her silver hair, and for a moment, she looked almost inspired. Then she turned to me, eyes burning with an intensity that immediately made me nervous, and asked with deadly seriousness, "Baby, that stick. We're fine." I choked on my own spit. She wants to find the Rui Jingu Bang. She thinks it's real. I told a bedtime story and she's ready to launch a quest. This girl heard magic shape-shifting shiny weapon, and her dragon brain went, shopping list updated. I looked at those determined eyes and realized I may have made a terrible mistake. I was so busy being a good storyteller that I forgot my audience is an action-oriented dragon who has never encountered the concept of fiction. She's going to want the stick. She's going to go looking for the stick. She's going to tear this continent apart searching for a weapon that doesn't exist because a baby told her a bedtime story. This is entirely my fault. Note to self. Next time, tell a story about a dragon who loves staying home and being calm and not going on dangerous treasure hunts. If they're even is and next time. She's still staring at me with those "tell me where the stick is" eyes. What have I done? I created a monster. A Monkey King fanatic. A staff-obsessed maniac. And it's entirely my fault. Ever since that bedtime story, Ayla has been different. She stopped caring about her crystals. She stopped playing with fire. Instead, she just stares into space, making little swinging motions with her hands, mumbling, "Born from stone. Shiny stick." Over and over like a cult member reciting scripture. I thought it was a phase. Kids get obsessed with stories, right? She'd get over it. Move on. Find a new fixation. I was so wrong. One morning, I woke up to a sound that wasn't normal. Not footsteps. Not hunting noises. Something heavy being dragged through the forest. Trees snapping. Ground shaking. Getting closer. And closer. I pressed myself into the corner of my fur bed, heart hammering, staring at the cave entrance, expecting some kind of megaboss monster. What appeared was worse. Ayla, carrying a tree. Not a branch. Not a log. An entire tree trunk. The kind of ancient, massive tree that takes multiple adults to hug around. Still wet with moss. Fresh splinters at the break point where she'd apparently just ripped it out of the ground. It was 10 times her height. She had it on one shoulder. Her tiny shoulder. The ground shook with every step. She walked into the cave and slammed it down in the center. Boom. A mushroom cloud of dust exploded into the air. I coughed. She dusted off her hands like she'd just set down a bag of groceries. Then she pointed at this telephone pole of lumber with the most radiant smile I'd ever seen and screamed, "Stick. Mine. Golden. Golden hoop stick. Shiny." She thought this was the Rui Jingu Bang. This raw, bark-covered, moss-dripping log was, in her mind, the legendary weapon of the Monkey King. It was about as golden and shiny as a wet sock. I tried to correct her, baby hands waving frantically. "No, no, no. Sharika. Metal. Glowing. Shiny. The real one is golden. It shines. This is just a tree you murdered." She looked at the log, looked at me, looked at the log again. A flicker of doubt crossed her face. She circled the tree trunk twice, touched the bark, seemed to agree that okay, maybe it wasn't shiny enough. But did she give up? Did she accept reality? Of course not. She's a dragon. She ran to her crystal collection, dug around, and pulled out a chunk of iron or the size of her own head. Then she grabbed some vines, and with the intense focus of a kindergartner doing an art project, She tied the or to one end of the tree trunk. It took her several minutes. The result was crooked, wobbly, and looked like it would fall apart if you sneezed near it. A massive tree trunk with a dark, lumpy rock lashed to one end with jungle vines. She spun around, beaming with pride, and presented this monstrosity to me. Look, shiny, golden hoop stick. In what universe is this shiny? It looks like a weapon a caveman would use to fight a dinosaur. It looks like someone lost a fight with arts and crafts. It looks like a war crime against woodworking. But I could see in her eyes, she was done with the design phase. This was her masterpiece, her holy grail, her baby's bedtime story come to life. Then she picked it up, and the apocalypse began. She shouted some battle cry she'd apparently invented, grabbed this tree trunk with a rock weapon that weighed more than a car, and started swinging it inside the cave. The air screamed. This thing moved so fast it became a blur. She was doing full Monkey King choreography, overhead smashes that cracked the stone floor open like an earthquake, wide sweeps that sent dust and pebbles flying like shrapnel and knocked crystals off the walls, forward thrusts that made sounds like a jet breaking the sound barrier. Our home was being demolished by a cosplaying dragon. I was plastered against the wall, trying to become one with the rock, making myself as small as physically possible while this weapon of mass destruction whistled past me repeatedly. The wind from each swing slapped my face. Rocks flew past my head. I could feel the vibrations in my teeth. One graze from that thing, and I wouldn't just die. I'd be erased from existence. They wouldn't even find enough of me to identify. Why did I tell that story? Why? This is 10,000 times worse than the fire phase. At least fire stays in one place. This is a tornado with a handle. She even tried to make it grow bigger, grabbed the middle, scrunched up her face, and started chanting, trying to will the tree trunk into expanding. It didn't work, obviously, because it's a tree, but her disappointment lasted about half a second before she went right back to swinging. Finally, she stopped, planted the tree trunk on the ground with a mighty thud, struck a pose with one hand on her hip, breathing hard, face flushed, sweaty, hair sticking to her cheeks, looking like a tiny action movie hero after the final battle. She turned to me with those sparkling eyes. The "wasn't I amazing" face. The "please clap" expression. I was shaking in the corner, covered in dust, surrounded by rubble that used to be our floor, with about 40 new gray hairs I shouldn't be able to grow yet. I smiled. The most forced, traumatized, "please don't swing that again" smile any baby has ever produced. Iowa, translation. You are terrifying and I regret every story I've ever known. She took it as applause, skipped over happily, sat next to me radiating body heat and wood chip smell, chugged water, wiped her mouth on her sleeve, and declared with absolute certainty, "Stick." Amazing. I looked at her content little face. I looked at the crater-filled cave floor. I looked at the wall crystals that got knocked loose. I looked at the leaning, ridiculous tree trunk with its sad iron rock on top. I could not scold this child. She was too happy, too sincere, too genuinely thrilled about playing pretend with her terrible homemade weapon. But deep down, a cold fear was growing. She won't stay satisfied with this stick. She's a dragon. Dragons don't settle for imitations. Right now she's happy with the knockoff. But someday soon, she's going to realize there might be real magic weapons in this world. Real shape-shifting artifacts. Real, shiny sticks. And when that day comes, she's going to drag me across this entire continent looking for one. Because I opened my big, stupid baby mouth and told a bedtime story about a monkey with a cool stick. I stared at that ugly tree trunk leaning against our cave wall, like a warning from the universe, and I made a solemn vow. From now on, all bedtime stories will be about dragons who stay home, collect rocks, and never go on adventures. Thus she's already asking for another story tonight, isn't she? I'm doomed. Good news. The Monkey King phase is fading. Bad news. It's because something worse showed up. Reality. Ayla's golden hoopstick obsession raged for several days, leaving our cave looking like a demolition site. I was mentally drafting evacuation plans when nature decided to remind me that cosplay damage wasn't my biggest problem. Survival was. The signs started small. Ayla coming home with scratches she didn't have before. Prey she dragged back with bite marks that weren't hers, meaning she'd fought something else for it. and this new crease between her eyebrows, a tiny flash of irritation I hadn't seen before. Then, when she'd leave to hunt, I started noticing things from inside the cave. Sounds I'd been too distracted to hear before. Distant howling, rustling in the bushes that moved wrong, too deliberate, too slow, too watching. And sometimes, lying alone on my fur bed in the silence, I could feel it. Eyes. Somewhere out there in the trees. Something staring at our cave. At me. The math wasn't hard. Ayla is terrifying, but she can't be here all the time. And whatever's out there has figured that out. They're not stupid enough to challenge a dragon head-on. But a baby left alone in a cave? A soft, defenseless, delicious-smelling baby? That's a different calculation entirely. I was bait. Sitting duck. Unattended lunch special. I needed a plan. And for the first time in this new life, being a helpless baby wasn't going to be an acceptable excuse. I couldn't build anything, couldn't set anything up, couldn't even crawl to the cave entrance. But I had something no other baby in this world had. A brain full of survival shows, camping knowledge, and approximately 800 web novels where the protagonist builds traps in Chapter 1. And I had Ayla. My hands. My extremely powerful, easily entertained, instruction-following dragon hands. I waited for my moment. She was sitting nearby, bored, fiddling with a vine. I made my move. Step 1. Point at cave entrance. Make something sneaking in. Gesture, scared face. Step 2. Point at her vine. Point at the stalactites above the entrance. Point at rocks. Step 3. Mime something getting tangled, tripped, rocks falling. She stared at me like I was performing modern art. Complete confusion. I did it again, and again, and again. 3 full performances of baby's first home security presentation. On the 3rd try, something clicked. Her eyes lit up, not with understanding exactly, but with, "This looks fun, baby." "Make?" she asked, holding up the vine excitedly. "Close enough." I nodded so hard my neck almost gave out. She moved. In seconds, she was at the cave entrance, leaping up walls like gravity was optional, tying the vine from an upper rock to a hidden trip line near the ground, threading it through grass so it was almost invisible. Then she grabbed some medium-sized rocks and balanced them loosely in the cracks above, ready to fall at any vibration. Was it sophisticated? Absolutely not. A Boy Scout would have cried. The engineering was pure, dragon child who thinks physics is a suggestion. But it was a tripwire connected to a rock drop, and for a baby and his dragon mom working with sticks and vines, it was basically the Pentagon. She ran back, beaming, waiting for praise like a dog that just fetched a stick. I gave her my most enthusiastic baby applause. She earned it. Then, a few days later, the test came. Ayla was out hunting. Cave empty. Just me and the silence. And the silence changed. A sound. Not wind. Not insects. Something moving with purpose. Slow, careful, deliberate. My heart went from 0 to maximum in half a second. I stopped breathing. Through the vines at the cave entrance, I saw it. A dark shape. Low to the ground. Creeping. 2 green eyes glowing in the shadows. Locked onto the cave interior. Locked onto me. It was sizing me up. Calculating risk versus reward. Is the dragon home? No. Just the baby? Just the soft, easy, unprotected baby. My blood turned to ice water. It moved closer. 1 step. 2 steps. I could see its outline now. Some kind of predator, cat-sized, built for stealth. Every muscle coiled. Eyes never blinking. I couldn't scream. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything except lie there and watch death walk toward me in slow motion and pray that my stupid vine and rock invention actually worked. Its back leg caught the tripwire. Snap. The vine pulled tight. The creature stumbled. Not a full fall. It was too fast for that, but enough to throw it off balance, enough to make noise. And then the rocks came down. Crash. Clatter. Most of them missed, but one caught it square on the back. AOWWWW. The shriek that thing let out was pure shock and terror. It didn't even look to see what hit it. Survival instinct took over completely. It bolted, scrambled into the forest so fast it was a blur, crashing through bushes, gone in seconds. Silence returned. I lay there, heart thundering, drenched in baby sweat. Staring at the cave entrance where some scattered rocks and a gently swinging vine were the only evidence that I'd almost become a snack. I did it. My trap worked. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't lethal, but it scared that thing so bad it probably won't come near this cave for the rest of its natural life. When Ayla came home, she knew instantly. She saw the moved rocks, the disturbed vine. She dropped her kill and sniffed the air, picking up the scent of a terrified predator. Then she sniffed me, checking every inch, making sure I was untouched. She looked at the sprung trap. She looked at me. And for the first time, her expression wasn't, "Cute baby," or "my possession," or even "my child." It was something new, something deeper. "Baby, did this?" I nodded. She went quiet. Then, very slowly, very gently, she reached out and touched the top of my head. Not a poke, not a playful pat. A real, careful, respectful touch. Like she was seeing me, actually seeing me, for the first time. Something shifted between us in that moment. I wasn't just the helpless creature she fed and cleaned and spun around. I had proven I could think. I could plan. I could protect myself. Barely, clumsily, with sticks and rocks and a baby's brain. But I could. I wanted to feel triumphant. And part of me did. But the bigger part looked at that dark forest beyond our cave entrance. Quiet now, but full of things with teeth and hunger and patience. And thought. That was a small one. A coward. What about the next one? The braver one? The bigger one? This trap won't work forever. And I'm still a baby who can't walk. The danger isn't gone. It just knocked on the door, got surprised, and decided to come back later. But hey, at least now the door has an alarm. Baby steps. Literally. My trap worked great against that sneaky cat thing. Really boosted my confidence. Made me feel like a genius survivalist baby. Then the forest sent a bear. Not a regular bear. A magic bear. The size of a small building. Covered in thick yellow-brown fur crusted with tree sap and dirt like natural body armor. Each footstep made the ground shake. Eyes glowing red with hunger. Drool hanging from its mouth in long, disgusting strings. This thing looked at our cave the way I look at roasted meat, with pure, uncontrollable want. My beautiful trap? My masterpiece of vine and rock engineering? This monster walked through it like it was decorations. Snapped the vine like a thread. The falling rocks bounced off its fur like someone threw peanuts at a tank. It actually seemed more angry afterward. Like, how dare these pebbles touch me? It started punching the cave entrance. Just slamming its massive paws against the rock walls, trying to widen the opening. The whole cave shook. Rocks fell from the ceiling. My fur bed was vibrating. This wasn't a home invasion. This was demolition with intent to eat. I am going to die. This is it. The real thing. Not a drill. Not a sneaky cat I can scare with party tricks. This is a living wrecking ball, and it wants to eat whatever's inside this cave, and that's me. Then, a silver flash in the trees behind the bear. Ayla. She appeared out of nowhere, still holding a bleeding kill from her hunt. Took one look at this bear attacking her cave, and her eyes went vertical. Slit pupils. Full dragon mode. The temperature around her seemed to drop 10 degrees. She dropped the carcass and her throat started making this deep, rumbling growl that I could feel in my bones. My heart soared. Mama's home. The cavalry has arrived. We're saved. Then I saw the glow. White-hot light building in her throat. Energy gathering. The air crackling. Dragon breath. She was charging up dragon breath. At the cave entrance. Where I live. 3 meters from where I'm lying. No, 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 no. MOM. Mother. Birth giver. Stop. Do not nuke our front door. I am behind that door. I'm inside the thing you're about to vaporize. I unleashed a scream so loud my voice cracked. Not a, help me, scream. A, stop what you're doing right now, scream. I waved my arms not toward the bear, but toward her. I slapped the fur bed. I pointed at the cave walls. I mimed everything collapsing. The message, if you breathe fire here, the cave falls down. If the cave falls down, I'm under it. Please do not flatten your baby to kill a bear. There are other options. She hesitated. I could see the internal conflict on her face. Every dragon instinct screaming, burn it, versus the one human baby screaming, don't. She looked at the bear. She looked at me. Back at the bear. Back at me. Her face said, this is so inconvenient. The bear, being an idiot, interpreted her pause as weakness. It roared and charged at her. Massive paws swinging down like a falling tree trunk. A hit that could shatter boulders. Ayla didn't dodge. Didn't step back. Didn't even flinch. She raised one hand. One small, white, delicate-looking hand. Boom. The bear's planet-killing paw slammed into her palm and stopped. Dead. Like hitting a mountain. The sound was sickening, bone meeting something harder than bone. The bear screamed. Then Ayla flicked her wrist. She threw it. This creature that weighed more than a truck, she caught its attack with one hand and launched it like a softball. The bear flew through the air, a fur-covered boulder sailing in a graceful arc, and slammed into an ancient tree so thick 3 people couldn't hug around it. Crack. That wasn't the tree. That was the bear's spine. It slid down the trunk like a deflating balloon, blood leaking from its mouth, twitched twice, and went completely still. One hand. One move. Dead. The whole fight lasted maybe 2 seconds. Ayla dusted off her palms. They weren't even dirty, and walked back into the cave without looking at the corpse. Like she'd swatted a fly and couldn't be bothered to acknowledge it. She came straight to me, checked every inch of my body, sniffed me top to bottom, making sure nothing had touched me, then tapped my nose with one finger. Scared? Was I scared? Was I scared? I just watched a building-sized death machine get one shot like a rag doll by a girl who looks like she should be in elementary school. My emotions are doing backflips. I'm terrified and amazed and relieved, and I think I peed a little. I nodded, then shook my head, then nodded again. Yeah, I was scared, but not of the bear. Of you. Of what you almost did to our home with me inside it. She pouted. Bug. Annoying. Burn. Faster. She still thinks dragon breath was the better option. She just one-hand killed a monster the size of a minibus, and she's annoyed she couldn't use her favorite move. I grabbed her sleeve and gave her my most intense, fire, look. She stared at me. I stared back. The most important staring contest of my life. She sighed. Like a kid told she can't have dessert. Baby. Annoying, she mumbled, but she picked me up gently and patted my back anyway. I'm annoying. I just saved our house from your friendly fire. The bear was trying to eat me, but your solution was going to bury me. The threat assessment in this family is completely broken. But crisis over. Bear dead. Cave standing. Baby alive. All good. Except not really. Because lying in her arms, looking past her shoulder at that massive bear corpse crumpled against a shattered tree, I couldn't stop thinking about what comes next. This bear was big and dumb. It attacked alone, head-on, no strategy. And Ayla deleted it in one move. But the forest saw what happened. The forest always sees. And now it knows 2 things. There's something valuable in this cave, and the dragon who guards it is absurdly powerful. Most creatures will run from that information. But somewhere out there, something won't run. Something smarter. Something that sees power not as a warning, but as a challenge. And Ayla can't be here every minute. I need to grow up. Fast. Not just learn words and build toy traps. I need real capabilities. Because the threats aren't going to stay bear-sized forever, and I can't spend my whole life screaming, don't use the nuke, from a fur blanket. She hummed her off-key song, rocking me gently, still grumpy about not getting to breathe fire. My dragon mom, everyone, can kill a bear with a casual backhand, but needs her baby to remind her not to collapse their own house. I love her. I'm terrified of her. And I desperately need to stop being helpless before this forest sends something even she can't one-shot. The clock is ticking, and I can't even crawl yet. After the bear incident, Ayla went full territorial warlord mode. She started hunting like it was her job, which, I guess, it kind of is. Longer trips, bigger kills, meaner prey. She was basically sending a message to the entire forest. This is my neighborhood. Come here and become a corpse. And every kill came with a bonus prize, magic cores. She'd crack open skulls and chests like pistachio shells, pop out these glowing crystals, wipe them clean with the care of a jeweler handling diamonds, and add them to her growing hoard. Red ones here, blue ones there, big ones, small ones, shiny ones, slightly less shiny ones. The collection was getting massive. Meanwhile, I'm lying on my fur bed, which at this point was more patch than bed, wearing what can generously be described as rags made of animal, looking at a pile of magic crystals worth probably enough to buy a house, thinking, we are sitting on a fortune and living like cavemen. These aren't decorations. They're currency. In any fantasy world worth its salt, magic cores are the gold standard. We could trade these for clothes, tools, blankets, actual food seasoning. The possibilities are endless. We're basically billionaires sleeping on dirt. But try explaining economics to a dragon. I picked a moment when Ayla was in a good mood, belly full, lazily rubbing her face against a red crystal like a cat on catnip, tail swishing happily. Peak relaxation. Maximum receptiveness. Time for baby's first lesson in capitalism. I pointed at the crystal pile. Made a giving away gesture. Then pointed at our terrible clothes with a disgusted face. Then pointed outside, toward wherever civilization might be. Then made a trading gesture. Then made an excited, new stuff face. She watched this entire performance, lifted her head from her crystal pillow, and her expression went from confused to alarmed. Shiny things. Mine. She physically shielded the pile with her body, like I was a robber. She looked at me, a baby who can't even sit up properly, like I was planning a crystal heist. Ma'am, I am 4 months old and weigh less than a sack of flour. I am not stealing your rocks. I'm trying to help. Okay, new approach. Simpler. I tugged at my gross, stiff animal skin outfit, making exaggerated, uncomfortable faces. Then pointed at a crystal. Then mimed wrapping myself in something soft and warm. Crystal comfort. Give rock, get nice things. Basic trade theory. Something flickered in her eyes. She got up, walked to the pile, and after careful deliberation, picked the worst one. The smallest, dimmest, most pathetic little brown crystal in the collection. The one even she barely acknowledged existed. She handed it to me like she was donating to charity. Then pointed at my ratty clothes. This. Trade. For soft skin. Technically, yes. She understood the concept. But also, this crystal couldn't buy a napkin, let alone clothing. I pushed it back and pointed at a bigger, better blue crystal. Her eyes went huge, like I'd asked for her kidney. And oh, she snatched the blue one and clutched it to her chest. Mine. Sharika. Okay. Calm down. Nobody's taking your precious blue baby. Let me try the strategic angle. I pointed at the ice blue crystal. The one she'd previously declared, Akutar, water, disgusting. She hates cold things. She literally shoved this crystal to the far edge of her display with one disgusted finger. It's the reject of the collection. The unwanted stepchild of the crystal family. Surely she'd trade the one she doesn't even like? She looked at it. Looked at me. Looked at it again. And she still hesitated. This crystal could insult her mother, and she'd still struggle to let it go, because it's shiny, and shiny things belong to the dragon. The hoarding instinct is real. It's not logic, it's religion. She sat there agonizing for minutes. Full minutes of a dragon child having an existential crisis over whether to release one unwanted ice rock from her collection. Her face cycled through every emotion. Reluctance, pain, calculation, more pain. Then, the counteroffer. She picked up the ice crystal with 2 fingers, held it toward me like it physically hurt her, and pointed at my green marble. The little green crystal she'd given me as a toy. The one I actually kind of liked. That one. Give me. She wanted to trade. The crystal she hates for the crystal she kind of wants. She wasn't just accepting the concept of exchange, she was already negotiating. She was getting the better deal, and she knew it. This dragon is a natural-born businesswoman. I stared at her. She stared back with those innocent red eyes that absolutely knew what they were doing. Fine. Deal. I pushed the green marble toward her. She grabbed it at lightning speed, face glowing with, I won, energy, and dropped the ice crystal in my hands like it was garbage. She literally just hustled a baby in a trade deal. I feel like I should be angry, but honestly, I'm impressed. She went from, what is exchange, to, I'm getting the better end of this, in about 10 minutes. Dragon Commerce speedrun. So now I own one ice blue magic crystal. It's cold. It glows faintly. It represents the first piece of real economic activity in our cave's history. But here's the problem I hadn't solved. How do we actually use this? Ayla can't walk into a human town. She has horns and a tail. And I can't exactly crawl to the nearest marketplace with a crystal in my diaper. We have currency, but no way to spend it. We have a key, but no idea where the door is. I held that little ice crystal up to the light, watching the frozen patterns swirl inside, and thought about what was out there. Somewhere beyond this forest there are towns, markets, merchants, roads. People who would trade this crystal for things that could actually improve our lives. But between here and there, more forest, more monsters, more unknowns. And the only 2 people on this team are a dragon child with separation anxiety and a baby whose greatest achievement is teaching said dragon child not to burn down the house. Still, first trade deal, Complete. The concept of commerce has entered the dragon cave. That's not nothing. Today, one sad ice crystal pried from a reluctant dragon's hoard. Tomorrow, who knows? Maybe a blanket. Maybe real clothes. Maybe spices. One day, the world. But first, I need to figure out how to leave this cave alive. And preferably while being able to walk. Baby steps. Always baby steps. Sometimes literally. That ice crystal changed everything. It sat in my hand like a frozen promise whispering, there's a world out there. Go find it. Because here's the reality check. We live in a cave. We wear animal skins that feel like sandpaper. We eat unseasoned meat every single day. And we're sitting on a pile of magic crystals that could probably buy us an actual house. This is like being a millionaire who sleeps in a dumpster because he doesn't know what a bank is. So I started Operation Leave the Cave. Every chance I got, I pointed outside. Not just outside near the trees, outside. Far outside. The kind of outside where civilization might exist. I pointed with maximum baby intensity. Arm fully extended. Eyes burning with determination. The body language equivalent of a PowerPoint presentation titled, Why We Need to Explore. A baby's proposal. Ayla did not get it. Here. Good. She drew a circle in the air around the cave like a real estate agent closing a deal. Safe. Shiny things. Food. That's your sales pitch? Safe. Shiny food. We're living in a hole with rocks. We don't even have pants. I shook my head. Pointed at the crystals. Tugged my horrible skin outfit. Pointed outside again. My face said, we're leaving and I'm not taking no for an answer. After several rounds of this, something broke through. Maybe it was my stubbornness. Maybe she remembered the trap incident and thought, okay, this baby might actually know something. Or maybe her own dragon curiosity kicked in. She walked to the cave entrance, sniffed the forest air like a sommelier evaluating wine, and turned back to me. Outside. Find. New. Shiny things. Yummy food. Yes. That. Whatever motivation works for you. Shiny things. Great food. Absolutely. Let's go? Packing took about 30 seconds. Ayla wrapped her most precious crystals in a fur bundle. She was not leaving those behind. She'd sooner leave me. Strapped it to her back, then tucked me against her chest in a makeshift baby carrier. Snug, secure, surprisingly comfortable. Going, she announced, like a general declaring war. And we set off into the great unknown. For approximately 12 minutes before everything fell apart. Because Ayla, my protector, my dragon mother, my all-powerful guardian who can kill bears with a backhand, has the worst sense of direction of any living creature in any universe. She started confident, marching through the forest with purpose, head high, steps sure. I thought, okay, maybe dragons have some kind of built-in GPS, internal compass, magnetic sense, something. They do not. Within an hour, she got distracted by flowers, just stopped dead, veered left, and buried her nose in some weird glowing petals. Forgot where we were going. Then she saw a colorful bird and chased it. Just took off running after a bird while carrying a baby, like a cat that spotted a laser pointer. I was bouncing against her chest, screaming internally, while she sprinted through bushes after something she'd forget about in 10 seconds. Then the circling started. She'd walk confidently in one direction, slow down, look confused, walk around a tree 3 times, and mutter, this. Been here? Yes. Yes, we have. Because we were here 20 minutes ago. That's the same mushroom patch. I recognize that specific mushroom. We've passed it 4 times. I tried helping. When she went wrong, I'd slap her arm and point the right way. She listened at first. Then her dragon pride kicked in. Baby. Wrong. She shook her head and overruled me. I'm the baby. What do babies know about directions? She's the dragon. She knows best. She did not know best. She led us through thorns, across a stream, through more thorns, and right back to the mushroom patch. By sunset, we were completely lost. Not slightly off course, lost. Lost. Don't know where the cave is, don't know where civilization is, don't know where anything is, lost. Ayla stood on a hill, turning in circles, scanning the horizon with genuine confusion on her face for the first time. She wasn't scared. Nothing in this forest could hurt her. But she was frustrated. And a frustrated dragon standing on a hill at sunset, holding a baby, looking bewildered in every direction. That's a Renaissance painting nobody asked for. My GPS mom had failed. Time for the backup system, me. I forced myself calm. Stopped trying to direct her on the ground. Clearly that was useless. Instead, I looked up. Through the thinning canopy, stars were starting to appear. And there, bright and steady, was one star that burned brighter than the rest. North Star? This world's equivalent? I had no idea. But it was the only fixed point in a sky full of chaos. And fixed points are how lost people stop being lost. I raised my tiny arm and pointed straight at it. Not at a tree. Not at a path. At a star. Ayla followed my finger. Stared at the sky. Stared at me. Back at the sky. Her face was pure. You want me to follow a star? You, a baby, are telling me, a dragon, to navigate by stars. Star? She asked, completely baffled. I nodded with every ounce of authority a 4-month-old can project. She stared at me for a long moment. Then, with a fine, nothing else is working, shrug, she started walking toward the star. And it worked. No more circles. No more mushroom patches. No more bird-chasing detours. We moved in a straight line for the first time all day. The trees started changing, different species, different density. We were in new territory. Actual progress. Then, just as hope was building in my chest like a campfire, sounds. Ahead of us. Not animal sounds. Water flowing. But also, tapping. Rhythmic hitting. And underneath it, barely audible. Voices? My heart slammed into my ribs. Voices means people. People means civilization. Civilization means trade. Trade means pants. Ayla heard it too. She stopped instantly, every muscle tensing, nostrils flaring. She pulled me tighter against her chest and shifted into stealth mode. Silent, fluid, a predator melting into shadows. 1 second, she was a clumsy, lost dragon girl. The next, she was an invisible apex hunter gliding through darkness without a sound. The sounds grew clearer. Water splashing. Metal on stone. And yes, definitely talking. Muffled, distant, but human-sounding. I gripped her leather carrier so hard my baby knuckles turned white. My pulse was racing. This was it. The edge of the forest. The doorstep of everything we needed. Or the doorstep of something terrible. Because in this world, people doesn't automatically mean friendly. 1 star. 1 stubborn baby. 1 directionally challenged dragon. And somewhere ahead, in the gathering dark, the sound of civilization, waiting to be either our salvation or our next problem. I held my breath. Here goes everything. Ayla in stealth mode is genuinely terrifying. 1 second, she's a clumsy girl who gets lost following birds. Next second, she's a ghost. A silver-haired phantom gliding through the forest without making a sound. Bushes parted for her and closed behind us like the forest itself was holding the door open. I could feel every muscle in her body coiled tight, vibrating with predator energy. My goofy dragon mom had switched off and full apex hunter had switched on. The water sounds got louder. Wet air, mud smell, clean and fresh. And those other sounds, tapping, rhythm, and something that was definitely voices. Muffled, distant, but structured. Not animal howls. Not wind. Language. She stopped behind a giant fern on a hill. Perfect vantage point, perfect cover. She peeked over the edge, those red eyes scanning like military radar. And there it was. Across a moonlit stream, on a flat clearing, a camp. A human camp. Crude shelter. Branches leaned against a rock, covered in leaves. A dead campfire, still ashy. Animal bones picked clean. And scattered on the ground like the most beautiful things I'd ever seen. A shaped stone tool with smooth edges and a piece of leather cord. Tools. Handmade tools. Not dragon-ripped, not animal-chewed. Cut. Shaped. By hands with thumbs and intentions. My heart nearly exploded out of my tiny chest. People. Real, actual, tool-using, fire-building, shelter-making people exist in this world, and they were right here. This wasn't just a campsite. This was proof of civilization. Proof of trade. Proof of a world beyond our glittery cave of chaos. I was ready to pop champagne. Or at least baby formula. Ayla, however, was ready to pop something else entirely. Her body went rigid. Not alert rigid. Hostile rigid. A growl formed in her throat, so deep and low it was more vibration than sound. Her nostrils flared, dissecting the air, smoke, sweat, leather, metal rust, cataloging every human scent like a crime scene investigator building a case for. Things I hate. Who? Mans, she hissed through clenched teeth, pronouncing it like a curse word. Then, just to make her feelings crystal clear. Tar, annoying, disgusting, bad. She said, humans, the way I say, overtime. No. No. Do not go xenophobic on me right now. We need these people, or at least their stuff. I didn't navigate by starlight to watch you throw a racist dragon tantrum at an empty campsite. I grabbed her sleeve. Didn't point at the camp. That would trigger her territorial instincts. Instead, I pointed at myself, then at the human tools, then at my garbage clothes, then back at myself. The message, I need what they have. Please don't destroy our only chance at pants. She looked down at me, looked at the camp, back at me. Her face was a war zone, dragon instinct screaming, danger, intruders, burn everything, versus the tiny baby in her arms making puppy eyes about clothing. I didn't push. I know better than to pressure a dragon. So I went quiet and studied the camp myself. The bones were expertly cleaned, skilled hands. The fire was controlled size, experienced outdoors people. The shelter was positioned for wind protection near water, survival knowledge. These weren't amateurs, hunters, or travelers. Professionals, which meant they probably came from somewhere with more professionals. A village, a town, a market. Then Ayla's ears twitched. She heard something I couldn't. Her head snapped toward the downstream direction, body dropping even lower. Maximum stealth. Maximum danger. I held my breath and listened with everything I had. And there, barely, just barely, footsteps on leaves. And whispered conversation. Getting quieter. Moving away. The humans were still nearby. Walking downstream. Leaving, but not far. My brain lit up like a Christmas tree. They're here. Within reach. If we follow them, we find where they came from. Towns. Shops. Civilization. But Ayla was a loaded weapon with the safety off. One wrong move, and she'd either bolt or attack. Neither option ended well. She looked downstream. Looked at me. Downstream. Me. I could see the calculation happening in real time. Follow the scary tool users? Or protect the baby from potential threats? Her decision, neither. And both. She pulled back. Slowly, silently, deeper into the shadows. Found a high, hidden perch where she could see the downstream path without being seen. A surveillance position. A sniper's nest. Wait, she breathed, barely audible. Not a suggestion. An order. I understood immediately. This was Ayla's compromise. She wasn't saying no. She was saying, on MY terms, she'd watch. She'd observe. She'd let the situation develop before committing. No rushing. No risks. Full control. Dragon caution, meeting baby ambition, settling on patience. So there we sat, hidden in the dark, watching the moonlit stream flow past that empty campsite while somewhere downstream, humans walked away from us, not knowing they were being stalked by a dragon who hated their species and a baby who desperately needed their products. I didn't make a sound, just leaned against Ayla's warm chest, listening to her heartbeat, steady, slow, a predator at rest, and stared into the dark trees where those footsteps had vanished. We were so close. So close. The first evidence of civilization I'd seen since being reborn, and it was right there across a stream. A stone's throw away. But between me and that campsite stood every dragon instinct Ayla possessed, plus an unknown number of strangers whose reaction to a horned, tailed little girl carrying a human baby would be. Unpredictable at best. The moonlight painted everything silver. The stream whispered. The forest held its breath alongside us. Those fading footsteps were like a thread, thin, fragile, barely there, connecting our wild cave life to the world of people and trade and possibility. If that thread broke, we'd be back to square one, lost in the woods with a directionally challenged dragon and a pocket full of crystals we couldn't spend. But the thread held, for now, and somewhere in the dark, people were walking, living, trading, building, existing in a world I needed to reach. Soon. But tonight, we wait, because Mama said so. And when Mama is a dragon who can throw bears into trees, you don't argue with, wait. We spent the whole night hiding in a bush like two fugitives. Well, one fugitive and one baby who couldn't complain about it because Mama said, wait, and Mama can throw bears. The human sounds faded. Nobody came back. Dawn broke. Birds started singing their annoying morning concert, and Ayla finally unclenched. She looked down at me, half asleep from staying quiet for 6 hours straight, which is torture for a baby whose entire communication system is screaming, and I saw something new in her eyes. Decision. She wasn't going to track those specific humans. Too risky. But the direction they'd come from, combined with my star navigation, that was a breadcrumb trail. And this time, miracle of miracles, she actually followed my lead instead of chasing butterflies. We walked downstream along the creek, and the evidence piled up fast. A trampled path getting wider. Better-made stone tools abandoned on the roadside. And then I spotted it. A tiny scrap of woven fabric caught on a thorn bush. Cloth. Not animal skin. Cloth. Somebody wove that. With a loom. Which means technology. Which means town. My heart was doing backflips. Every step was bringing us closer to people. Real people with real stuff I could trade for. Ayla, meanwhile, was getting tenser with every step. She'd pulled in her dragon aura completely. No pressure waves. No intimidation field. Just a silent predator sliding through shadows like she was made of smoke. Her eyes were scanning everything. She looked like a special ops soldier infiltrating enemy territory, except the enemy was a farming community and the soldier was 7 years old with horns. Then we broke through a grove of trees, and there it was. A town. A real, actual, human-built town. Dirt road leading to a gate. Wooden walls made of logs and packed mud. Crumbly in places, patched up with fresh lumber, clearly held together more by optimism than engineering. Low rooftops poking up behind the walls. Smoke rising from chimneys. Real chimney smoke, the kind that means kitchens and hearths and cooked food with seasoning. 2 guards at the gate, leaning against the wall like they were competing for. Employee of the month at doing nothing. 0 alertness. Maximum napping energy. It was poor. It was shabby. The walls couldn't stop a determined goat, let alone a magic bear. And it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Civilization. Humans. Commerce. I wanted to cry. I wanted to cheer. I wanted to crawl over there and kiss the dirt road. After weeks of living in a dragon disco cave, eating unseasoned barbecue, and sleeping on animal fur, this crumbling little town looked like Paris. Ayla's review was different. Many people, she whispered, nose wrinkled like she'd stepped in something. Smell. Mixed. Loud. She was getting the full sensory assault. Smoke, livestock, human sweat, cheap alcohol, and her dragon nose was not having it. To her, this place was a smelly, noisy, overcrowded nightmare. A dragon who lives in a crystal-decorated mountain cave being asked to appreciate a muddy frontier town is like asking a 5-star chef to eat gas station sushi. But I couldn't let her bail. Not now. Not when we were this close. I didn't point at the town. That would have been too much. Instead, I found the perfect target, a little shop on the outskirts. Separate from the main town. Close to the forest, easy escape route. It had a rickety awning with dried meat and animal skins hanging outside, and a crooked wooden sign with some kind of cup painted on it. A general store. Maybe a bar. The kind of place where trades happen. 1 building. 1 or 2 people inside. Edge of town. Maximum reward. Minimum dragon panic. I pointed at it with my most, please, just this, expression. Puppy eyes at full power. Baby charm cranked to 11. Ayla stared at the shop for a very long time. I could see her mental calculator running. Distance to forest, number of exits, strength of potential threats inside, time needed to grab baby and flee. She was doing a full tactical assessment of a roadside convenience store. Then, so slightly I almost missed it, she nodded. Only. There. Her voice was iron. Wrong. We leave. Deal. Sold. No refunds. Let's go. But she didn't rush in. Oh no. We spent hours doing reconnaissance. Hours. On a tiny shop. She cataloged every person who walked in and out. Mostly rough-looking hunters and dusty travelers. She memorized approach paths, hiding spots, retreat routes. She was planning this shopping trip like it was a military operation. I've seen heist movies with less preparation. I did my own homework. The shopkeeper was an old man. White hair, faded clothes, hunched posture. He sat on a stool outside, knitting or weaving something, only getting up when customers came. He looked about as threatening as a library bookmark. Perfect first contact. As the afternoon wore on, foot traffic thinned out. Fewer customers. Guards changed shift at the gate. The town was settling into evening mode. Ayla took one final breath. The kind of breath someone takes before jumping off a cliff. She didn't use the road. Obviously. She ghosted through shadows and tree cover, circled around to the shop's blind side, the side facing the forest, away from the town gate, and in one fluid motion, stepped out of the darkness into the fading sunlight behind the building. A dragon walking into human territory for the first time, carrying a human baby, to go shopping. And the old man, the one who'd looked half asleep for the past 3 hours, whose hands hadn't stopped their steady knitting rhythm once. His fingers paused, just barely. He didn't look up immediately, but his cloudy old eyes slid sideways, finding Ayla's position with a precision that did not match his sleepy grandpa act. His gaze met hers, 2 red dragon eyes glowing in the dusk. 2 old human eyes that suddenly looked a lot less cloudy. The whole world held its breath. And I, strapped to my dragon mother's chest like a baby-shaped backpack, thought, please don't let this be the chapter where everything goes wrong. But honestly, with my track record, that it probably will be. The standoff lasted approximately 10,000 years. Or maybe 3 seconds. Hard to tell when your dragon mom is one twitch away from either fleeing or committing murder. Ayla stood in the dying sunlight behind the shop like a final boss who wandered into the wrong cut scene. Silver hair glowing gold in the sunset, slit pupils radiating. I will end you. Every muscle ready to grab me and vanish into the trees at the first wrong move. The old man, the shopkeeper, just looked at her, put down his half-finished basket, lifted his eyes, which suddenly weren't cloudy and sleepy at all. They were sharp, clear, like he'd been faking the whole napping grandpa thing. And he wasn't scared, not even a little. A horned, tailed, red-eyed dragon girl materializes from the shadows behind his shop, and this man's heart rate didn't budge. He just nodded like she was a regular Tuesday customer. Rare visitor, he said, voice like gravel soaked in cheap whiskey. From the forest? That's your reaction? A non-human apex predator appears at your back door, and you say, rare visitor, like she's a neighbor borrowing sugar? Either this man has seen everything, or he has a death wish wrapped in a knitting hobby. Ayla didn't answer, just growled quietly and scanned every corner of the shop, the surroundings, every possible ambush point. Full threat assessment on a grandpa and his basket collection. The old man, Phil, old Phil, whatever, didn't seem to care about her silence. His eyes drifted over her crude leather outfit, the bulging pack on her back, and then landed on me, peeking through the gap in Ayla's arms. Something flickered across his face when he saw me. Not shock exactly, but a tiny crack in his poker face. Like he'd expected a dragon girl, but not a dragon girl carrying a human baby with weirdly calm eyes. Traveling with a child. Not easy, he said, casual as breathing. Then, without asking a single personal question, no. What are you? No. Where are you from? No. Why does your kid have the eyes of a tired accountant? He just went straight to business. Need anything? Salt? Sugar? Or maybe sturdier cloth? This man. This beautiful, perfect, tactful old man. No interrogation. No panic. Just, what do you want to buy? He read the room. A tense dragon and a needy baby, and chose commerce over curiosity. I could have kissed his wrinkly forehead. Ayla relaxed. Just barely. Like going from, definitely going to kill you, to, probably not going to kill you. Progress. My turn. I squirmed until Ayla loosened her grip enough for my face to show. Then I went full performance mode. Tugged my awful sandpaper animal skin with visible disgust. Pointed at Ayla's pack. Pointed at the soft-looking furs and thick cloth hanging in Phil's shop. Translation, we have crystals, you have nice things, let's do business. Ayla understood, but her dragon hoarding instinct kicked in hard. Those were her shinies in that pack. Trading them for cloth. Cloth. She looked like I'd asked her to sell a kidney. Old Phil, reading the situation like a professional, pulled out his secret weapon. He grabbed a piece of white rabbit fur from his shelf, impossibly soft, perfectly tanned, warm and smooth, and held it out. Feel this. Best thing for a baby. I reached out before Ayla could stop me. My tiny fingers touched that rabbit fur, and my God. After weeks of wearing what basically amounted to tree bark with hair on it, this felt like touching a cloud. My face lit up with genuine desperate longing. I turned to Ayla with my most powerful, please mama, expression. Full weaponized baby eyes. Ayla looked at my face. Looked at the fur. Looked at her pack full of precious crystals. The internal dragon war was visible. Hoarding instinct versus baby comfort. greed versus love, shiny rocks versus soft blankets. Love won. Barely. She set me down, untied her pack with the enthusiasm of someone pulling their own teeth, and slowly opened it. The crystals caught the light, and old Phil's composure cracked for the first time. His eyes went sharp, laser-focused on the ice blue crystal and the others, instantly evaluating quality like a jeweler who'd been pretending to be a farmer. Ice Fong Wolf Core. And that's a rock armor bears. Excellent quality. His voice stayed even, but his words came just a hair faster. He was excited. And more importantly, he was now looking at Ayla with a whole new level of respect. Whatever he'd assumed about us before just got upgraded. This rabbit skin plus that roll of thick cloth. He pointed at a sturdy gray-brown fabric. For this small one, he indicated the weakest, dimmest little brown crystal. Ayla snatched it back like he'd tried to kidnap her child. Not the brown one. She shoved the ice blue crystal forward instead, the one she hates, practically throwing it at him. Take the cold, annoying one. Take it. Phil pretended to think about it. Put on a show of reluctance. Well, for the child's sake, I suppose I can accept this one, sir. Sir, you just got an ice element magic core from a high-level monster for a rabbit skin and some cloth. You are robbing us and pretending to do us a favor. I respect the hustle, but I see you. Ayla didn't care. She grabbed the rabbit fur and cloth like a shoplifter making a getaway, clutched them to her chest, and her face was this incredible mix of, I lost a shiny, grief, and, I got new stuff, excitement. Phil pocketed the crystal with the smooth, practiced motion of a man who's been waiting for exactly this kind of deal his entire career. His fingers caressed it once, with a gleam in his eye that told me this crystal was worth 10 times what he gave us. We got scammed. Our first ever trade, and we got absolutely hustled by a grandpa. I'd be angry except honestly, we got rabbit fur. Soft rabbit fur. For a crystal Ayla was going to ignore for eternity anyway. In baby economics, that's still a win. Ayla scooped me up, ready to bolt back into the safety of the trees. Mission accomplished. First contact survived. Nobody died. Shopping complete. Then old Phil dropped a bomb. The forest to the north, he said, casual as discussing weather. Been dangerous lately. Heard something big is moving around out there. Several hunters went in. Haven't come back. He paused. Looked directly at Ayla. You? Came from that direction? Ayla froze. Full statue mode. Pupils contracted to pinpoints. My heart sank straight through my stomach and into the dirt. That sentence had layers. Was it a warning? Genuine concern from a nice old man? Or was it a probe? Testing what we knew? Testing what SHE was? Figuring out if the something big in the northern forest was standing right in front of him, holding a baby? Because let's be honest, if hunters are disappearing in the northern forest, and then a dragon girl walks out of that same forest carrying premium monster cores, the math isn't hard. Old Phil's face was unreadable. A perfect blank page. But those eyes, those two sharp, two clear eyes that didn't match his sleepy grandpa act, were studying Ayla like she was the most interesting thing he'd seen in years. We stood there in the dying light. Ayla rigid. Phil waiting. Me, sandwiched between a suspicious dragon and a suspiciously calm human, clutching my new rabbit fur, thinking. First contact with civilization. Technically successful. Got cloth. Got fur. Got absolutely fleeced on the exchange rate. Also possibly got identified by a shopkeeper who is definitely not just a shopkeeper. Welcome to the world of humans, Lin Kai. It's just as dangerous as the forest. But the monsters here smile and offer you discounts. After old Phil dropped that dangerous forest bomb, Ayla grabbed me and vanished. No goodbye? No, nice doing business. Just whoosh gone. Silver blur into the trees. I think Phil blinked, and we were already half a mile deep in the forest. She didn't relax until we were surrounded by nothing but familiar dirt and leaves. Then she found a hidden tree hollow, set me down, and immediately started fondling our purchases like a kid on Christmas morning, unrolling the thick cloth, stroking the rabbit fur, over and over. Her face was doing that thing where she's mad about losing a crystal but happy about gaining soft stuff. Dragon emotional math is wild. Meanwhile, my brain was doing actual math, and the numbers were bad. One decent magic crystal, worth who knows how much in this world's economy, got us a scrap of rabbit fur and some rough cloth. That's it. That's the haul. We got fleeced by a grandpa whose whole personality is, I'm just a sleepy old man. Ignore me while I rob you blind. We can't keep doing this. Ayla's crystal stash is finite, and every time I ask her to trade one, she acts like I'm asking her to sacrifice a limb. At this rate, we'll run out of shinies before we even get shoes. I needed a new product, something renewable, something that costs us nothing to produce but has value to others. And then it hit me. I have an entire lifetime of stories in my head. Thousands of them. Novels, fairy tales, myths, legends. A Netflix library crammed into a baby skull. And in this world, nobody's heard any of them. They're not just stories. They're intellectual property. And I'm the sole owner. A few days later, I convinced Ayla to go back to Phil's shop. She resisted less this time. First trip didn't kill her. She got soft things, survival instinct slightly recalibrated toward. Humans are annoying but occasionally useful. Same routine. Dusk approach. Shadow ghost mode. Appearing behind the shop like two supernatural solicitors. Old Phil was sitting in the exact same spot, in the exact same position, like a screensaver that never changed. He glanced at us with zero surprise. Back again. Salt. Sugar? This time, I didn't point at merchandise. I pointed at my mouth. Then my head. Then, and this was the power move, I pointed at his money pouch. The little leather bag on his belt that clinked when he moved. His eyebrows did something they hadn't done before. They went up. Genuine confusion from the man who'd been unshakable. What's the little one getting at? He looked at Ayla. Ayla looked at me. Nobody knew what I was doing. Time for the pitch. The world's first baby TED Talk. I chose Little Red Riding Hood. Short, punchy, clear villain, satisfying ending. Perfect for a demo. I went full theater. Made wolf ears with my hands over my head. Whoa, deep baby growl. Then switched to skipping like a little girl. Happy face, basket mime, pointing at the forest. Ayla was already leaning in, entertained. Then I did the wolf eating grandma. Big chomping motions, dramatic scream face. Wolf pretending to be grandma. Pulled imaginary blankets up to my chin, made my eyes big and creepy. Then the hunter arrives, mimed pulling something from a belt, slashing motion, and pop. Grandma and the girl tumble out of the wolf's belly. Happy ending. Everyone lives. Wolf gets what it deserves. I used every sound effect in my baby arsenal. Growls, gasps, giggles, dramatic pauses. My body was a one-man puppet show. If there were baby Oscars, I'd sweep every category. Ayla watched the whole thing like it was premium entertainment. She probably thought the wolf was a real creature she should go hunt. But old Phil's face went on a journey. Confusion melted into surprise. Surprise bloomed into fascination. By the end, those cloudy eyes of his were sparkling like he'd found a diamond in a mud puddle. Because here's what he was seeing. A baby. A baby who can't walk or talk properly. Performing a complete, structured, never-before-heard narrative with characters, conflict, and resolution. Using mime, sound effects, and emotional beats that no infant should be capable of. This was not normal. He knew this was not normal. And I could see him recalculating everything he thought he knew about us. When I finished, sweating, panting, completely wiped out from the most physically demanding storytelling performance in human history, I looked up at him and pointed at his money bag one more time. Silence. Then, you want to trade stories for money? I nodded with extreme conviction. Old Phil laughed. A real laugh. His whole wrinkled face crinkled up like crumpled paper smoothing itself out. Interesting. Truly interesting. He pulled out his pouch, fished around, and produced a few small copper coins. Worn, scratched, smallest denomination possible. He weighed them in his palm. The story's worth this much. He set them down. But then, and this is where my respect for this man went through the roof, he leaned forward slightly and said, next time you have stories like that, maybe we trade for something more useful, information, or small things that don't look like much but could save your life someday. Information. He was offering to sell intelligence. This humble shopkeeper was telling me, a baby, that he deals in secrets, survival tools, and under-the-table goods. His shop isn't just a shop. He's a broker, an information dealer wearing a grandpa costume. I nodded so fast I almost gave myself whiplash. Yes, yes to all of that. Ayla scooped up the coins, looked at them with visible disappointment. Too small, not shiny enough, definitely inferior to crystals, and tossed them in the pack like loose change. She had no idea what just happened. She thought I'd played a game and gotten some boring metal circles for it. She had no concept that her baby just invented the entertainment industry in a fantasy world. We turned to leave. Mission accomplished. Story economy. Launched. Then Phil spoke one more time, and the temperature dropped. The town guard captain was complaining at the tavern yesterday. Tax collectors from the capital got hit on the road. Lost some cargo. They're furious. Every town is being told to increase patrols and check strangers. Especially unfamiliar faces. He said it like gossip, like he was mentioning the weather. But his eyes were on Ayla when he said, unfamiliar faces. She didn't slow down. Didn't react. Just disappeared into the trees at full speed. But I heard it. Every word. And my brain was already connecting dots. Tax collectors from the capital. Attacked on the road. Now authorities are increasing patrols. Checking strangers. In a town where a horned dragon girl just started making regular shopping visits. We are the most suspicious strangers within 100 miles. A non-human child with obvious dragon features and a baby with weirdly intelligent eyes, trading monster cores that only elite hunters can obtain, showing up at dusk and vanishing into a forest where professional hunters keep disappearing. If anyone starts investigating, the trail leads straight to our cave. I clutched those copper coins, my first earned income in this new world, proof that my brain is worth something, the seed of a whole new survival strategy, and felt a chill that had nothing to do with the evening air. We can sell stories. We can build relationships. We can trade information. The path forward just got 1,000 times more interesting. But the path also just got 1,000 times more dangerous. Old Phil gave us 2 gifts today. Copper coins and a warning. I have a feeling the warning is worth more. The copper coins were cute, but they weren't going to fix my real problem. I was losing my mind eating plain roasted meat every single day. Ayla's fire control had become genuinely impressive. She could cook a perfect medium rare now. But here's the thing about perfect unseasoned meat. It's still unseasoned. It's like buying a Ferrari and never putting gas in it. The potential is there, but the experience is empty. My taste buds had filed for divorce. My stomach accepted the food, but my soul rejected it. I kept thinking about old Phil's shop. Those jars on his shelves. White crystals, salt. Yellowish blocks, sugar. Dried herbs in little bundles. The holy trinity of flavor. The building blocks of civilization. Right there, 10 feet away from us during every visit. And we'd been trading for cloth. But I couldn't just ask Ayla to trade crystals for powder. In dragon logic, powder is nothing. You can't stack it. It doesn't glow. It doesn't sparkle. Why would you trade a beautiful shiny rock for something that looks like dirty sand? I needed a demonstration. The universe delivered one. Ayla brought home a gorgeous bird, rainbow feathers, fat, premium quality meat. But I knew from looking at it that this species would taste like absolutely nothing without seasoning. The blandest, most flavorless canvas imaginable. Perfect. I directed the operation. No whole bird roasting today. Cut it into pieces. Ayla obeyed, confused but willing. Then I pointed at the corner where a tiny pinch of coarse salt sat. A bonus old Phil had thrown in last time that I'd begged Ayla to accept. She'd taken it like someone accepting junk mail. I had her sprinkle it on the raw bird pieces. She did it carelessly, like humoring a crazy baby. Then we put it on the fire. And the smell happened. You know that moment in cooking shows when the chef adds the secret ingredient and everyone's eyes go wide. Multiply that by 1,000. Because Ayla has a dragon nose. A nose that can detect prey from miles away. A nose calibrated for maximum sensory input. The salted bird meat hit the heat and exploded with aroma. Rich, deep, savory, golden smell. Nothing like plain roast meat. It was like the difference between a black and white photo and a 4K movie. The air itself became delicious. Ayla's hand froze mid-rotation of the cooking stick. Her nostrils flared. Her eyes went huge. She leaned toward the fire and inhaled like she was trying to breathe the smell into her bones. She grabbed the first done piece and shoved it in her mouth. The sound she made was borderline inappropriate. MMPH, eyes round as dinner plates. She didn't even chew properly, just crushed it between her teeth, felt the salt-enhanced juice explode across her tongue, and her entire body shuddered with pleasure. She swallowed in 2 bites and stared at the remaining pieces like a wolf eyeing a lamb. I sat there watching my dragon mom have a religious experience over salted meat and thought, Phase 1 complete. What followed was the greatest culinary revolution this forest has ever seen. I became a shadow chef. A baby Gordon Ramsay directing a dragon sous chef through an entire curriculum of flavor science. Lesson 1. Sugar plus sour wild berries, rubbed on tough meat before grilling. The result? Sweet tangy glaze that tenderized the meat and made Ayla's eyes roll back in her head. She ate 3 portions and looked at the empty skewer like it had personally betrayed her by running out. Lesson 2. I found a spicy root. Had Ayla squeezed the juice onto roast meat. First bite, she stuck her tongue out, face scrunched, clearly thinking, what is this attack? Second bite, confusion. Third bite, addiction. She couldn't stop. The heat, the kick, the way it made every other flavor pop. She was panting and eating simultaneously, tears in her eyes from the spice, reaching for more. Lesson 3. The masterpiece. I directed her to crush dried herbs, mix them with animal fat, spread the mixture on these starchy fruit things I discovered, basically fantasy bread, and toast them over fire. Herb butter toast. In a cave. Made by a dragon. Ayla, the girl who'd never voluntarily eaten a plant in her life, took a bite, froze, and then ate 4 more. A carnivorous dragon eating vegetables because the seasoning was that good. I basically broke the food chain with butter and herbs. She was obsessed. Hunting trips transformed. She used to come back with just dead animals. Now she'd return carrying meat and armfuls of plants, roots, berries, anything I'd previously pointed out as interesting smelling. Her backpack sprouted little cloth bundles organized by type. Salt here, sugar there, dried herbs in this pocket, spicy roots in that one. Our cave went from smelling like a basic campfire to smelling like a 5-star restaurant run by feral children. Complex aromas drifting through the forest. Savory, sweet, spicy, herbal, layers of scent weaving together into something that made every creature within a mile radius suddenly very, very hungry. Then came the genius move. Next visit to old Phil's shop. Ayla didn't wait for him to ask what we wanted. She marched up, appeared from the shadows like a ghost chef, and slammed down leaf-wrapped packages of her best creations. Salt-crusted roast bird, spicy glazed meat strips, herb butter toast bites, all cut into neat little samples. Trade, she declared, pointing at his spice jars with the intensity of a customer who knows exactly what she wants. Old Phil unwrapped the packages, stared, sniffed. His poker face, the legendary, unbreakable old Phil poker face, crumbled. He picked up a piece of meat, chewed, slowly. Then he let out a long, deep breath. The breath of a man whose entire worldview just shifted. Unbelievable. He looked at Ayla, then at me. His gaze lingered on me with that familiar, what are you, intensity. You too. Made this? Ayla puffed her chest out like she'd just won a cooking competition. Full credit to herself, obviously. I'm just a baby. What do babies know about cuisine? She's the chef. She's the genius. Never mind that the baby literally choreographed every step. I gave her this one. Let her have the glory. Happy Dragon Mom equals cooperative Dragon Mom equals more cooking experiments equals better food for everyone. Phil didn't ask questions. Smart man. He just pulled out the good stuff. Premium salt, refined sugar, rare spices, things the town barely ever saw. Even a bottle of clear liquid that smelled like fruit vinegar. He traded generously, eagerly, taking almost all the food we'd brought. These should keep you entertained, he said with that signature meaningful look. Ayla practically skipped back into the forest. Skipped. A dragon. Clutching spice jars like they were newborn babies. She kept sniffing the herbs, eyes closed, smiling to herself. These powders and leaves had officially surpassed, boring metal circles, in her value ranking. They might even be approaching shiny rock territory. I leaned against her chest, watching the forest pass by, genuinely proud. We'd done it. We'd found a sustainable trade economy based on cooking. No more sacrificing precious crystals. We trade food for spices, use spices to make better food, trade better food for better spices. It's a cycle. A beautiful, delicious, self-sustaining cycle. Food really is the universal language. Doesn't matter if you're human, dragon, or a reincarnated programmer baby. Good seasoning conquers all. But there was a thought I couldn't shake. Phil's comment. Keep you entertained. And that look. He knows our food is special. Unusually special. The kind of special that makes people talk. And in a small frontier town where everybody knows everybody's business, word travels. And then there's the bigger problem I'd been trying not to think about. Every time Ayla lights up her cooking fire now, the smoke carries these incredible, complex aromas deep into the forest. Smells that didn't exist here before. Smells that scream, something new and interesting is happening over here. Animals will smell it. Monsters will smell it. And eventually, people will smell it. People who aren't friendly old shopkeepers. We'd accidentally turned our cave into the most delicious-smelling beacon in the entire forest. We might as well have hung a neon sign saying, "Exotic food and dragon. Treasure. This way." I looked up at the stars through the tree canopy, held my little bag of spices, and felt that familiar cocktail of satisfaction and dread. Today, invented restaurant-quality cuisine in a cave. Tomorrow, probably deal with whatever our cooking smoke attracts. The food revolution was a triumph. But every revolution has consequences, and ours smelled really good, which meant trouble could find us with its eyes closed. The food revolution was a smashing success. My mouth was happy. My stomach was happy. My soul was happy. You know what wasn't happy? My teeth. And my skin. And my general hygiene situation. See, here's what nobody tells you about inventing gourmet cave cuisine. The aftermath. Spiced meat grease coating your gums. Herb residue stuck between your baby teeth. Oil everywhere. Ayla's eating style hadn't evolved past. Shove entire fistful into mouth and chew aggressively. So she was basically a walking grease stain with silver hair. And old Phil's shop sold cleaning supplies that were basically sandpaper paste and chemical weapons in bar form. One whiff and my nose filed a restraining order. Plus they cost trade goods we couldn't waste. Time to do what I do best. Invent things and make my dragon mom build them. Project 1. Toothbrush. Easy mode. I found a thin, flexible twig with soft wood. Pointed at it. Pointed at Ayla's razor-sharp fingernails. Mayday, scrape this end into fibers. Gesture. She treated it like a craft project. Sat down, tongue poking out in concentration, and carefully shredded one end into a little brush head. Honestly, pretty good work. If Dragon Daycare had an arts and crafts hour, she'd get a gold star. Next, toothpaste. I had Ayla collect charcoal powder, mildly abrasive, natural cleaner. Then some salty red mineral clay. Then a pinch of antibacterial herb powder. Mixed it all with water into a dark gray paste that looked absolutely disgusting. Ayla dipped a finger in, tasted it, immediately spat it out. Tar, bad, gross, disgusting. It's not food. It's dental hygiene. There's a difference. I ignored her review, grabbed my twig brush, scooped some paste, and performed the world's most important baby demonstration, brushing my teeth. Up, down, side to side, spit, rinse. Then I opened my mouth wide and pointed at my clean little baby teeth with a big satisfied smile. Ayla watched this entire performance with the fascination of someone witnessing alien technology. Then the light bulb went on. Oh, not eating. Cleaning teeth. She made her own brush, grabbed the paste, and shoved it in her mouth with all the subtlety of someone unclogging a drain. Nearly stabbed her own throat on the first try. I had to frantically wave, gentle, gentle, until she dialed it back to something resembling actual brushing. When she finished and felt that minty herb-fresh clean feeling for the first time, she ran her tongue over her teeth 3 times with a surprised expression. Verdict: taste still gross. Results: acceptable. Baby dentist, successful. Project 2. Soap. This one almost broke me. I knew the theory from my past life. Vaguely. Very vaguely. Fat plus alkaline solution equals soap. Simple on paper. Absolutely terrifying when your laboratory is a cave and your assistant is a dragon child with the patience of a hummingbird. Fat was easy. We had plenty of animal grease from hunting. I had Ayla render it down into clean oil. She did it without complaint because it involved fire, and fire is her love language. Alkaline solution was the problem. No proper wood ash. No natural soda deposits. I was stuck. Then the universe threw me a bone. Ayla cracked open some hard-shelled nuts and accidentally dropped a few into our drinking water. When I touched the water later, it felt slippery. Soapy. That slightly slick, alkaline feeling. Those nuts make lye water. Nature just handed me the missing ingredient. I had Ayla crush a mountain of these nuts, soak them, filter the liquid. Then came the scary part. Mixing the alkaline nut water into hot animal fat while stirring continuously. Ayla's patience lasted about 45 seconds. Why? Stir. So long. She grumbled, arm already slowing down. Because chemistry doesn't care about your attention span. Keep stirring. I babbled and pointed and made, don't stop, gestures until she grudgingly continued. Stir, stir, stir. The mixture slowly thickened, changed color, started leaving trails on the surface. It was working. Actual saponification was occurring in a cave. I was witnessing basic chemistry happen in real time, directed by a baby, executed by a dragon, using nut juice and bear fat. My past life chemistry teacher would either be proud or horrified. I had her pour the thick mixture into leaf molds, added crushed pine needles, and some purple flowers that smelled like lavender for bonus points. Then we waited. Days passed. I checked the molds obsessively. Well, checked, meaning I stared at them intensely and willed them to solidify faster. Then, the moment of truth. The soap had set. Ayla cut off a small piece. I grabbed it, wet it, and rubbed. Foam. Beautiful, white, fragrant, actual foam bubbled up between my tiny fingers. Pine and lavender scent floating through the air. I washed my hands and face, and the feeling was, I'm not exaggerating, one of the top 5 moments of my entire new life. Clean. Truly clean. Not wiped with wet moss. Clean. Not dragon blow-dried after near drowning. Clean. Soap clean. The kind of clean that makes you feel human again. I demonstrated for Ayla. She watched the foam appear with growing curiosity, poked a bubble with one finger, then grabbed the soap herself. She wet it, rubbed it, and when a cascade of white, fluffy, fragrant bubbles erupted from her hands. Shiny, she screamed. She classified bubbles as shiny. Foam was now officially in the Lang Jing Jing category. Soap bubbles had just been inducted into the Dragon Treasure Hall of Fame alongside magic crystals and gold ore. What followed was absolute chaos. She couldn't stop. She was a bubble factory. Hands, face, arms, hair. She covered herself head to toe in foam, laughing hysterically, looking like a tiny, abominable snowman made of soap suds. She was blowing bubbles off her fingers. She was making foam beards. She was having the time of her life. I sat there watching my dragon mother transform into a giggling foam monster, and honestly, I laughed too. A real, genuine, belly-deep baby laugh. Because this ridiculous, dangerous, chaos magnet dragon girl just discovered soap bubbles and reacted like she'd found the 8th wonder of the world. We invented hygiene. In a cave. With nuts and bear grease and flowers. I'm a baby chemist. She's my lab assistant who keeps trying to eat the experiments. Together, we're the world's worst and only forest R&D department. But as the wind picked up and carried our scent cocktail into the forest, roasted spice meat aroma plus floral soap fragrance plus wood smoke, I felt that familiar prickle at the back of my neck. Our cave used to smell like nothing. Just rock and fur. Invisible. Forgettable. Now it smelled like a spa restaurant run by someone who shouldn't exist in the middle of a wild forest. Complex spice cooking. Handmade botanical soap. The kind of sophisticated scent profile that screams, something unusual lives here. We might as well have put up a billboard. Animals would notice. Monsters would notice. And sooner or later, people who are smarter and more curious than animals, would notice too. People who might wonder what kind of creature lives deep in the forest, cooks with rare spices, makes artisan soap, and trades monster cores at a border town shop. I looked at Ayla, still giggling with foam in her hair, completely oblivious to the concept of operational security. Every improvement I make to our lives makes us more comfortable and more visible. Every upgrade is a signal. Every innovation is a beacon. The better we live, the easier we are to find. That's the trap, isn't it? You can't have civilization without footprints. And in a world full of things that hunt by scent and track by rumor, our footprints are starting to smell really good. I held my little bar of homemade soap, my proudest invention, my cleanest achievement, and wondered how long before the smell of progress brings something to our door that we can't handle. But that's a problem for tomorrow. Tonight, my teeth are clean, my skin is fresh, and my dragon mom is wearing a bubble hat. Small victories. Fragrant, foamy, dangerously conspicuous small victories. The soap changed Ayla's life. Not in the way I intended, but it changed it. She now treats bath time like a religious ceremony. She has a whole routine. She sets up the stone water basin in the exact spot where sunlight hits the cave entrance. She carefully selects and cuts a piece of soap with the precision of a surgeon preparing for a critical operation. She takes a deep breath. She centers herself. And then she does everything completely wrong. Step 1 of Ayla's beauty routine. She picked up the soap and rubbed it directly on her face. No water. No lather. Just dry soap dragged across her cheek like she was applying war paint. Back and forth, grinding it into her skin like a cat's scent marking a corner. That's not how. You need water. The soap doesn't work if. She was basically using it as a very expensive cheek scratcher. It left wet streaks and a strong smell, but zero cleaning happened. I was watching a tutorial video from hell. Then, and I need you to understand that my soul physically left my body during this. She opened her mouth, stuck out her little pink tongue, and started leaning toward the soap. She was going to lick it. She was going to eat my soap. I screamed so loud, I probably scared birds out of trees 3 miles away. Hands flailing. Maximum, energy. She froze mid-lick, looking at me with genuine confusion. But it smells yummy? Why can't I eat the yummy smell block? Because it's soap. It's made of bare fat and nut acid. Your stomach will declare war on your throat. I'm vomiting so dramatically that I almost actually vomited. Then I pointed at the water aggressively. Water first. Then rub. Then bubbles. That's the order. There is an order. She reluctantly abandoned her taste test, dunked the soap, which now had her face prints and a tongue mark on it, into the water, and started rubbing her hands together. Bubbles appeared, and her brain short-circuited again. Every single time. Every time she sees bubbles, it's like the first time. Eyes exploding with wonder. White shiny things. She immediately forgot she was supposed to be bathing and started sculpting. Foam castles. Foam hats. Foam mountains. She tried to blow bubbles into the air and watched them float with the wonder of a child seeing snow for the first time. My soap, my handmade, carefully crafted, took days to cure soap, was being used as a TOY. Not a cleaning product. A toy. After approximately 15 minutes of bubble playtime, she finally started washing. And by washing, I mean she took the soap bar and attacked her own body with it. Scrubbing her arms like she was trying to sand down wood. Grinding it against her legs like she was sharpening a blade. The soap was disappearing at an alarming rate. I watched my carefully portioned hygiene supply shrink in real time like a time-lapse of a melting ice cube. She was using enough pressure to strip paint off a car. On a normal person, this would remove actual skin. On Ayla, it just removed dirt and half my soap supply. Dragon skin is unfair. Then came the hair. Listen, Ayla has gorgeous hair. Silver waterfall. Moonlight silk. The most beautiful hair in probably any universe. And she washed it by smashing the soap bar onto her head and clawing at her scalp like she was digging for buried treasure. Clumps of silver hair ripped out between her fingers. Beautiful, irreplaceable, angel-quality hair, torn from her head and tangled around her hands while she scrubbed with the intensity of someone trying to remove a curse. My soap, your hair, both of those things are precious. Stop treating them like they personally offended you. I was in physical pain watching this. My carefully made soap, vanishing. Her magnificent hair, being harvested like wheat. This wasn't beauty care. This was a war between a dragon and the concept of gentle cleansing, and gentle cleansing was losing. When the carnage finally ended and she rinsed off, though, I had to admit, she looked stunning. Squeaky clean, glowing skin, silver hair wet and shimmering in the sunlight, smelling like pine and lavender. She practically sparkled. All the dirt, grease, and forest grime from days of hunting and cooking, gone. She looked like a fairy tale illustration. She leaned down to me, freshly clean, radiating smugness. Smell nice? Sharika, pretty? She wanted a review. My dragon mom wanted me to rate her bath. I looked at the devastation zone around her. Puddles everywhere, foam residue coating every surface, hair casualties scattered across the ground. My soap reduced to a pathetic sliver. Then looked at her bright, clean, genuinely happy face. I nodded. Yeah, Sharika, you look great. 10 out of 10. Please never wash your hair in front of me again. My heart can't take it. She beamed. Eyes closed. Happy little dragon hum. She'd discovered self-care, and she was never going back. The soap had achieved what I never thought possible. Ayla now wanted to be clean. Not because I made her. Because she liked it. Because bubbles are shiny, and smelling nice feels good. I looked at what remained of my soap bar. A sad, tiny nub. I need to make another batch immediately. At this consumption rate, I need to start a full-scale soap factory. But then, right as Ayla was happily playing with her soap nub like a kid with a last piece of candy, my nose caught something. Not soap. Not food. Not forest. Something else. A faint, foreign smell drifting on the wind. Musty. Dusty. Like old cloth and leather that's been in a damp place too long. Coming from the opposite direction of town. From deeper in the forest. From somewhere we'd never been. My smile faded. Ayla felt it too. Her soap play stopped mid-motion. Head snapped up. Red eyes locked on the same direction. Every trace of bath-time goofiness vanished in an instant. Predator mode reactivated. We both stared into the trees. The happy, bubbly, lavender-scented atmosphere evaporated faster than bath water on a hot rock. I'd been right all along. Our cave had become a beacon. The cooking smoke. The soap fragrance. The complex, layered scent of a civilized existence in the middle of raw wilderness. Something noticed. Something was out there. Something that smelled like old places and long roads and purposes that had nothing to do with animals or hunting. Something that was probably, right now, standing in the shadows between the trees, sniffing the air, and thinking, what interesting creatures live here? Bath time was over. Reality check. Incoming. That mystery smell vanished as fast as it appeared. 1 minute the air tasted like old basements and underground secrets. The next, nothing. Gone. Like the forest burped something ancient and then pretended it didn't happen. Ayla didn't buy it. She spent hours patrolling the perimeter, sniffing every bush, checking every shadow, radiating enough predator energy to make the trees nervous. She found nothing. But the crease between her eyebrows stayed. And when Dragon Mom keeps her worry wrinkle, everyone should keep their worry wrinkle. The incident hammered home what I'd been dreading. Our cover was blown. Not completely, not dramatically, but slowly, steadily, like a faucet drip that eventually floods the bathroom. Every time we cooked our spiced meat, every time our soap-scented smoke drifted through the canopy, every time Ayla walked into old Phil's shop with monster cores that professional hunters couldn't obtain, we were writing our address in the sky with neon letters. And Ayla herself was the biggest problem. Silver hair, red slit pupil eyes, horns, a tail. She could walk into any human settlement, and every single person within eyeshot would immediately think one of three things: monster, demon, or worth a lot of money to the right buyer. We needed a cover story, a backstory, a brand. I spent days thinking about it. What explains a girl with dragon features who isn't a pure dragon? What makes people curious but not murderous? What story protects us while also explaining the high-quality monster cores and the weird baby with old man eyes? The answer was so obvious I was mad I didn't think of it sooner. Half-breeds. We're half-dragon. Mixed heritage. Daddy was a dragon. Mommy was something else. Dad's gone now. Tragic backstory. 2 orphans making it on their own. It explained Ayla's horns and tail, dragon father's genes. It explained my human appearance, took after the other parent. It explained the monster cores, inherited some dragon hunting ability. It explained why we lived in a forest, refugees, hiding, nowhere else to go. Sympathetic enough to discourage questions. Scary enough, dragon father, to discourage aggression. The dragon dad was a fiction, a ghost, a shield made of lies. But it was the best shield I had. I waited for the right moment. Next trip to Phil's shop. Trade completed, Ayla counting her new salt supply. Phil watching us with those eyes that pretended to be cloudy but saw everything. I looked up at him, locked eyes, and then I performed the most important mime show of my career. I pointed at Ayla. Then I raised my hands and slowly, carefully, drew a shape in the air. Long neck, massive wings, powerful body, sweeping tail. There was no mistaking it. Every child in every world knows that silhouette. Dragon. Old Phil's sleepy grandpa mask shattered. His eyes went wide. Actually wide. The pipe froze halfway to his mouth. This was the first time I'd seen genuine shock break through his professional calm. I kept going. Pointed at Ayla again. Pointed at myself. Pointed at the sky. Mayday. Gone forever. Gesture. Sad face. Very sad face. Tears in eyes, sad face. Message. We had a dragon father. He's dead. We're what's left. Then I pointed at Ayla's horns and tail, dragon features, from Dad. Pointed at my own normal-looking baby body, human features, from whoever. Shrugged with a genetics are weird expression. Ayla stood beside me through all this, not understanding what I was saying, but sensing the serious mood. She just watched with her usual protective stance, red eyes scanning for threats, completely unaware that her baby was currently fabricating her entire family history for a stranger. Phil sat in silence for a very long time, pipe smoke curling around his face, hiding whatever calculations were happening behind those suddenly not cloudy at all eyes. He looked at Ayla, horns, tail, impossible strength, silver hair. He looked at me, human baby, impossible intelligence, weirdly calm eyes. He looked at the memory of those monster cores. He looked at everything and ran it through his mental database of things that exist in this world, and it all fit. The story was absurd, but it worked. Every suspicious detail suddenly had an explanation. Why she had dragon features, Dad. Why I looked human, Mom. Why we had premium cores, dragon blood. Why we lived alone in the forest, orphans hiding from a world that would exploit them. He exhaled, long and slow. Smoke everywhere. So that's it, he murmured, almost to himself. A silver dragon. Father, he didn't say he believed it. He didn't say he didn't. But the probing stopped. That constant, what are you, scanning energy that he'd aimed at us every visit, dialed way down, replaced by something more complex, part understanding, part sympathy, and part opportunity assessment. Because old Phil is a businessman first and a human being second. And half-dragon orphans with a dead dragon parent isn't just a sad story. It's a valuable relationship. Dragon heritage means rare materials, unique knowledge, potential connections. Keeping us as trade partners just became a lot more interesting to him. After that visit, things shifted. Phil still haggled. He'd haggle with God at the pearly gates. But there was a new undertone of respect. Or at least, he treated us like equals instead of naive forest rubes he could fleece. He started volunteering information without being asked. Town gossip, trade route changes, which hunters were asking too many questions about, strange smells from the northern forest. He was investing in us, protecting his investment. Ayla noticed the vibe change too. She couldn't articulate it, but she stopped bristling quite as hard around Phil. Went from, I will end you if you breathe wrong, to, I will end you only if you really breathe wrong. For dragon-human relations, that's basically a friendship bracelet. But me? I wasn't celebrating. Because I'd just painted a target on us labeled Dragon Heritage and hung it in a border town where information leaks like a broken faucet. Old Phil would keep our secret, as long as it benefited him. But what about the next person who heard whispers? What about treasure hunters, dragon slayers, poachers, or anyone who'd heard that dragon parts sell for kingdoms? The Silver Dragon Father was a shield and a magnet. It protected us from casual suspicion while potentially attracting professional danger. I traded one type of vulnerability for another. I sat in Ayla's arms as she carried me back through the darkening forest, clutching our bag of salt and spices, watching Phil's shop shrink behind the trees. The old man stood in his doorway, pipe glowing orange in the dusk, watching us disappear. He knew something now, something he didn't know before. And knowledge, in the hands of a man like old Phil, was never just knowledge. It was currency, and he'd just made a deposit. The question was, when would he decide to spend it, and on what? I held my little bag of salt tighter and tried not to think about it. Narrator voice, he thought about it constantly. I decided to invent agriculture. As a baby, in a fantasy world, directed at a dragon who thinks food comes exclusively from violence. Look, the math was simple. We can't keep trading crystals for salt forever. We can't rely on Ayla hunting every meal. And if I eat one more unseasoned, unaccompanied piece of roasted meat without a single vegetable on the side, my nutritional deficiency is going to achieve sentience and file a complaint. I needed plants. Growing. In the ground. On purpose. I spotted a perfect patch of land near the cave. Good sunlight. Decent soil, flat enough. I dragged Ayla over by her sleeve. Well, tugged until she humored me, and began the world's most ambitious agricultural presentation, performed entirely in mime by a person who can't stand up. I pointed at the dirt, made digging motions, then shaped my hands into tiny circles, seeds, pushed the invisible seeds into the invisible dirt, pointed at the sun, mimed rain falling, then slowly, dramatically, pressed my palms together and raised them upward like a plant growing, finishing with a big, tada, Food appears, gesture, and the most hopeful face a baby has ever made. Ayla squatted there watching this entire production with the expression of someone being told that rocks will turn into chickens if you wait long enough. Food. Grows. From dirt. She tilted her head. Slow. Annoying. Dragon review of agriculture, 1 star. Too slow. Would rather just kill something. She had a point. From a dragon's perspective, farming is insane. Why would you put tiny things in the ground and wait for weeks when you could just go punch a deer? It's like explaining retirement savings to a cat. The concept doesn't compute. But I wasn't asking for a whole farm. I drew a tiny square on the ground with my finger. 1 meter by 1 meter. The world's smallest garden. The absolute minimum viable crop. Just this, my eyes said. Just this tiny patch. Please, she looked at the baby. Looked at the pathetic little square. Sighed the sigh of a dragon who has accepted that her child is completely insane but loves him anyway. Fine. The dragon agreed to farm. Write it in the history books. Now here's where things got wild. I expected the digging phase to be messy. Maybe she'd claw the earth up randomly, or try to use fire, because fire is always her first answer to everything. Instead, she stuck her fingers into the solid ground like it was warm butter, flipped entire chunks of earth with a casual wrist twist, crushed rock-hard soil clods into fine powder by squeezing them in her palm, picked out every stone and root with surgical precision. In about 90 seconds, she'd created the most perfectly tilled, aerated, professional-grade seedbed I'd ever seen. It looked like something from a gardening magazine. A master farmer couldn't have done better with a full day and professional equipment. She did it with her bare hands. In under 2 minutes. While looking bored, this girl has wasted dragon tier abilities on hunting and crystal hoarding when she could have been the greatest farmer in history. Her fingers are better than any plow ever invented. Agricultural revolution waiting to happen, and she's out there throwing bears at trees. Soil, perfect. Next problem, seeds. I'd been quietly noting which wild plants nearby had edible fruits or roots. Had Ayla carefully collect the healthiest-looking seeds and tubers. She did it with the enthusiasm of someone doing homework they don't believe in, but she did it. Then came planting, and this is where we almost had a catastrophe. Ayla grabbed all the seeds in one fist and wound up to hurl them at the dirt like she was throwing a fastball. No, stop. That's not. Seeds need spacing. You can't just shotgun blast them into the ground like confetti at a party. I intercepted with maximum baby alarm sounds. Then I demonstrated. 1 seed, carefully placed, pushed gently into the soil, covered with a thin layer of dirt. Move over. Next seed. Same thing. Slow, deliberate, respectful. She tried to copy me. Pushed 1 seed so deep it was basically in the earth's mantle. Crammed 3 seeds into 1 hole. Got frustrated and started poking the dirt aggressively. I let her struggle for a bit, then took over. Me, a baby, planting seeds. 1 by painstaking 1, with hands that could barely grip a spoon. It took forever. My fingers were clumsy, my arms were weak, and I had to take breaks because babies get tired. But I got it done. Every seed, properly spaced, properly buried, properly covered. I'm pretty sure I'm the youngest farmer in any world's history. Put that on my resume. Last step, water. Ayla immediately opened her mouth to spray the garden, and I nearly had a heart attack. Dragon water cannon on delicate seeds would create a crater, not a garden. I made her fetch water in leaf cups and sprinkle it gently. Like rain. Gentle rain. Not monsoon. Not typhoon. Drizzle. She managed. Barely. With the restraint of someone defusing a bomb while wanting to just smash it. And then, it was done. 1 square meter of carefully planted, watered, hopeful earth. I stared at it like a proud father staring at his newborn. Which is ironic because I am a newborn staring at dirt. But this dirt represented everything. Independence. Stability. The first time I'd created something in this world instead of just surviving in it. Ayla crouched next to me, poking the wet soil, deeply unconvinced. Will it really grow yummy things? I nodded with the confidence of a man betting his entire future on seeds and sunshine. From that day, the garden became my obsession. Daily Ayla-assisted inspections, checking moisture, pulling tiny weeds with my useless baby fingers. Ayla even built a little shade structure, sticks and leaves, hilariously crooked, but functional. She was helping without being asked. The garden was growing on her before it grew anything else. Then one morning, green. Tiny, fragile, impossibly beautiful green sprouts, poking through the dark soil in neat little rows. Life. Actual new life that I'd put there. Ayla froze when she saw them, leaned in close, sniffed the sprouts like they might be a new species of creature. Her eyes went wide with genuine shock. It really grew, she whispered. Yeah, it grew. Because I told you so. Because seeds plus dirt plus water plus time equals food. Because your baby knows things, Dragon Lady. Trust the baby. She looked at me with that expression I was starting to recognize. My baby is weird and special, and I don't understand him, but I'm impressed, face. My favorite face. I was basking in agricultural triumph when I noticed something that made my blood chill. Footprints. Small, unfamiliar footprints in the soil at the garden's edge. Not Ayla's. Not mine. Not any animal I recognized. Something had come, stood right next to our garden, looked around, and left. Quietly, deliberately, without disturbing a single sprout. Whatever it wasn't hungry. It wasn't hunting. It was curious. And curious things come back. I stared at those little prints in the mud, then at my beautiful baby sprouts, then at the dark forest beyond, and thought, nothing I build stays secret. Not the cooking, not the soap, not even a 1-meter garden in the middle of nowhere. Every sign of civilization I create is a signal flare, and someone, or something, keeps answering. But I couldn't stop building. Because building is surviving. And surviving is all I've got. So I'll keep planting. Keep growing. Keep making this tiny patch of dirt into something worth protecting. And when whatever left those footprints comes back, I'll deal with it then. Probably by screaming and making Ayla handle it. I'm still a baby. Let's be realistic. My garden was thriving. Little green babies poking through the soil, reaching for the sun, growing stronger every day. I checked on them obsessively. Had Ayla carry me out there morning and evening like a tiny agricultural inspector doing field reviews. Those sprouts were my children. My green, leafy, photosynthesizing children. Then the sun decided to crank itself to maximum, and the soil started drying out faster than my patience with dragon parenting. My sprouts were wilting, drooping, looking at me like, Dad, we're thirsty, and hauling water from the stream in leaf cups was like trying to fill a swimming pool with a teaspoon. I needed irrigation. An actual water channel from the stream to the garden. Simple concept. Dig a shallow trench. Let gravity do the work. Humans have been doing this for 10,000 years. How hard could it be? I forgot who I was working with. The teaching session was my most ambitious yet. I pointed at the stream, drew an imaginary line from stream to garden with my hand, made water-flowing gestures along that line, shaped a U with my hands to show a channel cross-section, pointed at the dry garden. Water goes here, through that, into this. Ayla watched with those bright red eyes, nodding slightly. She looked like she understood. She looked engaged. She looked like a student about to ace the exam. She looked at the stream, looked at the garden, calculated the distance. Then she raised one foot. Wait, what are you? She stomped. Boom. The ground exploded. A shock wave rippled outward from her boot like she'd detonated a landmine. The earth literally cracked open, a jagged fissure tearing across the ground from where she stood toward my garden, ripping through soil and grass like a zipper opening the planet's skin. That's not a channel. That's a geological event. You just caused a fault line with your foot. Tectonic plates are filing complaints. But she wasn't done. She looked at the crack and apparently decided it wasn't wide enough. So she jammed both hands into the edges and pulled. The earth screamed. Rocks snapped. The fissure doubled in width and depth, becoming a genuine ravine, 1/2 meter wide, bottomlessly deep, carved by raw dragon strength through solid ground like she was tearing paper. And it pointed directly at my garden. The stream found this new exit immediately. Water poured in like it had been waiting for this moment its whole life. Not a gentle trickle, not a controlled flow. A torrent. A muddy, churning, debris-filled flood of brown water carrying rocks and sand and torn-up roots, roaring down the dragon-made canyon directly toward my babies. I watched in slow motion as the wall of mud hit my 1-square-meter garden like a tsunami hitting a sandcastle. Those delicate green sprouts, every single one, I'd planted by hand, one painstaking seed at a time, with fingers that could barely grip, were ripped from the earth, swallowed by brown water, and gone. Just gone. In 2 seconds. Weeks of work. My first creation in this world. Destroyed. The flood kept going past the garden, carving out a muddy crater behind it before finally settling into a disgusting brown puddle. Where my garden used to be was now a swamp. Where the field used to be was now a canyon. The entire area looked like a construction site that got hit by a natural disaster. Ayla stood at the starting point of this apocalypse, dusted off her hands. Her hands weren't even dirty, and turned to me with the proudest smile I'd ever seen. Look, water came. Fast. She wanted praise. She was waiting for applause. She had just performed agricultural genocide, and she thought she nailed it. I stared at the mud lake where my garden used to be. I stared at the half-meter-deep ravine gouged through the earth. I stared at those proud, expecting, absolutely clueless red eyes. I couldn't scream. I couldn't cry. I was beyond both of those. I had reached a new emotional dimension, a place beyond frustration, beyond despair, a cosmic void where all you can do is release one long, slow, soul-exiting sigh. I sighed. It contained my entire life's worth of disappointment. Ayla's smile wavered. She looked at me, looked at the destruction, looked at me again. Water. Came. Baby. Not happy. I pointed at the obliterated garden, pointed at the ravine, pointed at my own head, and made the universal gesture for, I am mentally finished. She finally, looked at the mud pit that used to contain living plants and seemed to realize that maybe, possibly, perhaps she had overdone it slightly. Ground was weak, she muttered. That was her excuse. The ground was the problem, not the dragon who kicked it into a canyon. Then she tried to fix it by kicking dirt back into the trench, which collapsed more of the edges.